So I do want to start, though, with the Kyle Busch story.
Yeah. This is awful.
Unbelievably awful. And I don't know, it's not just a shocking story in the sports world. It's a shocking story no matter who you are. He's only 41 years old, and he is the first, or became the first, active NASCAR driver to pass away since Dale Earnhardt in 2001. And not anything to do with a race-related situation. He was hospitalized with something, at least as of this morning. I haven't seen any further reporting other than what's being called a severe illness.
There has been more work done on it. So he was found unresponsive in a racing simulator before his death, and it goes back to an injury that took place weeks ago, but it did just come out of nowhere, just an absolute blindside. He dealt with this is from the New York Post. He dealt with a medical issue earlier this month with the star racer saying during the middle of a May 10th race he would need to see a doctor after finishing his circuit. The broadcast crew mentioned he had been dealing with a sinus issue, and the AP reported that, or they noted that the broadcasters said that Busch had been struggling with a sinus cold exacerbated by the intense G-forces and elevation changes at the New York road course. And apparently that ailment still bothered him last week. And it just kind of culminated in this awful way that, I don't know. I don't want to sit here and try to speculate on the specificity of, but just
again, it was pretty nebulous
insane
for most of yesterday while people were just trying to figure out what the hell happened.
Yeah. Just 41 years old.
So awful. I was listening to, it's days like today, among many other days, that I miss Mickey Ryan. Mickey's probably the biggest NASCAR fan out of anybody that we had here at the station. And just to understand the full scope, because I was at the gym this morning, and one of the coaches who's a big sports fan, he's always talking to me about basketball and stuff like that. He was asking me, how would you qualify Kyle Busch? And I'm like, honestly, I am so unqualified to talk about Kyle Busch, just because NASCAR's awesome. Like going to the Cracker Barrel 400 last year, I would like to get more into it. I could see how it would be an incredibly entertaining thing. Maybe, I'm sure it's not for everybody on TV, but to attend a race is so much fun. And we have history here, obviously, with the Nashville Super Speedway. I know that there's been some kind of conversation about the Speedway and the soccer team and all these different things over the course of the last couple of years, but people here really love NASCAR. Mickey would be able to talk about this man in far more informed terms than we would. But I did see Ryan McGee on television this morning, Lucas. He's obviously covered NASCAR for 30 years. He was doing a hit on ESPN talking about Kyle Busch. And I had no idea the scale, the kind of winner that Kyle Busch was. He's 9th all time in the Cup Series. He's only behind, I mentioned Dale Earnhardt, who passed away in 2001. He's only behind Earnhardt, who's sitting there at 8th. 234 wins across 3 different national series, so whether that be the Cup Series, the tier, and I don't know specifically the name, forgive my ignorance, the tier below the Cup Series, and then the Truck Series. And he's somebody who, just races for fun on short tracks with his kids and stuff like that. He's just somebody who, from all the reporting and all the different stories that have obviously come out around him, and I'm sure NASCAR fans know this because he's been in our sports lives for so long, even though he's so young.
He's the kind of name that
he was a monster.
If you don't follow NASCAR, you know the name Kyle Busch.
Correct.
So just horrible. I mean, leaves a family behind, and you can see the outpouring from
young kids,
the NASCAR community. Yeah, probably. I mean, the most shocking, out of nowhere sports death in America since Kobe, right? And in terms of just what? You do a triple take. No, that can't be right.
Yeah, I almost, where you think you're getting got by something on the internet, because I thought the Kobe thing, before, Twitter has become what Twitter is, I thought the Kobe thing was me getting got by something on the internet that I was misreading or early phase AI. It was jarring. I don't want to misremember, or because I'm sure there have been other athletes that have passed. When did I'm blanking on the Marlins pitcher's name. I feel awful talk. Jose Fernandez.
Oh, and that boating accident?
Yeah.
That was
that was pre-Kobe.
What year? I was in college when that happened.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, those are really the first three that come to my mind. If I'm misremembering any other tragic instances, I don't want to, be disrespectful. It's just those are the three that pop into my head because the Kyle Busch thing is like I straight up thought I misread Twitter. I was like, that can't possibly be so.
Yeah.
So, of course, thinking about all of his family and his loved ones today. So, from the rest of the training camp, or rather OTA conversation, we'll kind of sprinkle that in throughout the course of the show. I do have a lot of thoughts on Carnell Tate. Do have a lot of thoughts we set out yesterday, or Robert kind of was helping me to kind of think about, well, all right, what should I be looking for at OTAs and kind of the things that people would be interested. I do have a lot on the coaching staff from just one practice, I feel like. And again, it's because we're relearning, at least for me, relearning a whole new coaching staff, how business is done, the different personalities, who kind of pops on the field. Not, I've been watching drills for 10 years. I still don't fully understand what the hell they're coaching these guys through and wouldn't pretend to in a lot of situations. But seeing all the different drills, the offensive line situation alone, from what a circus it was over there with all the different equipment and things going on, and just how stark a difference, talking to Peter Skoronski yesterday, how stark a difference there is between what Carmen Brasillo is doing and what Bill Callahan was running. We have a lot to work into the course of the show. The basketball last night, Nixon 4, it feels like.
Yeah.
Did you see this Draymond Green clip?
Nope.
From his podcast. I sent it to the Twitter group this morning. Just eviscerating the Cleveland team. Not even James Harden for the level of defense that James Harden doesn't play, but basically Draymond Green calling out people on the Cavs team who are paid to make sure that they are willing to defend Jalen Brunson and making sure that James Harden doesn't end up in ISO situations on Jalen Brunson, and Draymond Green pointing out specific instances in the game where guys were switching off of Jalen Brunson, who are supposed to be the Cavs' best defenders, and basically not doing the things, as Draymond said, that are necessary to win. Guys don't want to win, and him doing it with much more colorful language. I would play the clip, but it is absolutely not safe for FCC safe air. It's as good, and I don't know if you've seen Draymond on TV.
A little bit.
Because they're trying to work him into the inside the NBA. I don't think he's not funny. Draymond's kind of mean. He's not like...
Yeah, like he can bust chops or whatever and get after people, but it's not in that same I don't know, like buddy.
He doesn't let it roll off him.
Yeah, like it feels a little bit like, I don't know, it feels like the hairs are raised on his neck a little bit, like he's ready to fight.
Yeah, turns out Draymond Green kind of irritable in certain situations. So anyway, I don't love him on Inside the NBA. This is as smart of basketball analysis. He couldn't do it on TV because he's just cussing every third word. But it's as smart of basketball analysis I've seen from anybody this season, talking about the way that the Cavs just blew it last night. So the Knicks feel like they're going to be able to cruise. We'll see if Cleveland can put up a fight. But I did not see the hockey last night. Did you?
No, I was at a concert at a brand new venue, Harkin Hall. Check it out. Brand new venue in Madison. First concert as that venue opens up. The Revivalists were playing with some of their new stuff. But no, I did not get a chance. The Canadians spoiled the Hurricanes' unbeaten run through these playoffs. They were 8-0 going into last night, game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they just got housed at home. It means 4-1 after the first period, 6-2 the final. And Montreal is off to a 1-0 start, so they'll play game 2 there this weekend on Sunday night. Game 2 tonight in the West is Golden Knights at Avalanche, with Vegas leading that series 1-0. I think Cale Makar is set to come back into the lineup for the Avs tonight after missing game 1. But I asked Bert this yesterday, is there like a collision course in the NBA playoffs that we feel like we're on? Like Knicks, it really felt like if they were going to take game 2, they're going to run away with this thing. But, I mean, right now, are the Thunder still the favorite to emerge out of the West? Spurs are favored tonight by 1.5.
Thunder would still be favored to win the series for sure. I haven't looked at the latest odds, but it is more competitive. And I don't know, you probably didn't watch much regular season NBA. And I haven't watched a ton. I'm only watching more because we're talking about it so often on the Fox Saturday show. Spurs own the Thunder in the regular season. I think it was they won 4 out of 5 in the regular season this year, which is kind of a shift. And obviously Wembanyama, who's only 22 years old, continuing to come into his own, and nothing like that. What was it, game 1, game 2, that he just absolutely went insane. But it's a more competitive series than I think most people anticipated. But if you saw that during the regular season, it was interesting to see. One of the underlying stories was whether or not the Thunder would be able to adjust from the way that the Spurs kind of ran them this year. So I'd be fascinated to see the Spurs in the finals. Where are we on SGA?
What do you mean?
Because he's a 2-time MVP. And he's a very effective basketball player. I cannot stand to watch him. And there's no way for me to say that without sounding disrespectful, but he makes me insane to watch him play basketball the way that he's constantly trying to draw fouls. And I understand he's just trying to exploit what he can and win within the margins, which is a good strategy. It's hugely effective for him. Nobody is better at that than him, but it makes me insane to watch him.
He definitely makes it an art form, I would say.
Is that what we're calling it?
I mean, there is a skill. There is an art to drawing fouls in the sport of basketball, and nobody does it better than SGA. I understand why it's frustrating for folks. I heard somebody, I don't know who it was like late night Fox Sports Radio programming on the Zone when I was driving back from Giottis Park or something, say that they would not have SGA if they could put together a starting 5 across the NBA. They would not put SGA in there, which I thought was
as opposed to who?
Insane. Oh, I mean, I know Jokic was in there, Wembanyama was in there, Anthony Edwards was in there. Oh, I wish I could remember the host. Who else did he say?
It's probably Ben Maller.
Cade Cunningham was in there.
I mean, these are good players.
Yeah, but he said I would not have SGA in my starting lineup.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to watch him, but I would want him on my team because he's very good at what he does. So at any point, it feels like that series feels like it's up for grabs, which is fun. I'm for that. That's what made game 1 between the Cavs and the Knicks so interesting. It's like, oh, okay. Cleveland wasn't even supposed to get out of that series against Detroit. But Detroit just kind of choked.
Bibbidi Bobbidi on the FNM Bank chat says,
sure.
Don't enjoy watching him. Give me Wemby in the finals. SGA already got his. I can be done with him. That is an interesting question. Which NBA superstar would you rather see in the NBA finals, SGA or Wemby?
Oh, overwhelmingly Wemby.
Yeah.
That's not going to be a close poll.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think people have some SGA fatigue.
What's the argument for SGA? Again, they just won it and they dominated, and it sucked because the Pacers were that close and then just were an abomination this season. But I don't think there's a lot of love for him.
Yeah.
You know, I think people are just kind of like, whatever. I think people would honestly rather watch Chet Holmgren than they would watch SGA. Anyway, 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in at any point. I also have, like I said, we are going to get into a number of different observations from Titans practice, but there are OTAs all around the league. So we'll do some NFL headlines coming up next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you if your energy's off, if things aren't working like they used to. That's not something that's exclusive to you. You're not alone. It happens to a lot of guys as you get up there in age. Body starts to change, and the Tennessee Men's Clinic, powered by Men's Pro, is here to help you through that process. What you'll like about them is that they've been doing this for years. They're not just the newest fly-by-night place or sketchy online pill. You're working with true medical providers. They're going to run labs. They're going to build a plan around you specifically, not some one-size-fits-all deal. They treat low performance, ED, weight loss, and even peptides like NAD+. Their treatments have worked for thousands of men, and most guys say they wish they would have come in sooner instead of procrastinating, like a lot of people do. But this is a problem that doesn't just go away. Right now, your lab panel and consultation, just $99. So call them today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
it is time for NFL headlines with Lucas Panzica.
Oh, with some gusto.
No, I hate that. I just hate that.
Well done, Zach.
I mean, I couldn't hear him over the damn music.
We got the point. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford has reached an agreement on a one-year extension worth $55 million up to $60 million, which pretty much puts Matthew Stafford right at the top of the quarterback market. If we're talking about AAV in the 2026 season, he is now tied to LA through the 2027 season, over $100 million remaining on his contract. So Matthew Stafford, as he said at NFL Honors, not going anywhere. He's trying to win another Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium because that's where the Super Bowl is this coming season, and that's where it was when he got his first ring with LA.
You know how you make your grizzled veteran, now MVP quarterback happy about drafting another quarterback 13th overall?
Yeah, a few tens of millions of dollars.
Just shove a few more million in his pocket and say, it's all right, buddy. We got you. We're riding with you. This is our financial commitment to you. So, as you said, base value 55 up to 60 mil in terms of incentives. So they take care of their quarterback. And I mean, the Rams are going to be just a lot of hype. It's a lot of hype around them this year, right? They are on prime time, as we discussed when the schedule came out, a league leading, and I believe it's a league tied high 7 primetime appearances for a single team in one season. So people can't get enough of the Rams. Whether or not they draw a crowd, they certainly draw a television audience. Matt Stafford is still playing at a high level. The Rams approach, and I was listening to, how often do you catch the Athletics football show? I think Robert Mays does a really nice job with that and all the.
I haven't listened in a while, but yes, they do a great job.
They were talking today, or it wasn't today, it was like a couple of days ago. I'm just on the most recent episode in my queue about trends that they noticed after the draft, things starting to settle down, what teams are doing, how teams are immediately adjusting to trends year over year, because we have never had in the NFL more information at our fingertips than we do right now to basically adjust to ebb and to flow, to schematic changes, to defensive changes, to personnel changes, to contract values, all these different things. And they brought up the Rams using 3 tight end sets a lot, and how much you saw runs on tight ends start earlier than we thought this year, simply because in their estimation, how effective the 3 tight end sets were Sean McVay. That Sean McVay is kind of setting the pace for how other teams do business, which is fair, right? It's a copycat league. That's the generic phrase that gets tossed out there all the time. It's a tough-ass division with the defending Super Bowl champions in it, in the Seahawks, and I don't know if the Rams are going to live up to the hype this year. I think they're a fascinating team. I don't think is there another team you'd rather see more in 7 primetime opportunities than the Rams?
I mean, yeah, they're fun to watch for sure. Like, I'm not upset about the Rams. I'd rather the Rams get 7 primetime games than the damn Cowboys.
Exactly. Like, I would rather watch more Rams games because they are entertaining. And honestly, I think the Cowboys are entertaining too. Like, if the Cowboys end up being a better football team than most people estimate, I think that's real. It's just they don't win in the postseason, and that's been the biggest knock on them. Obviously, they're trying to get back to postseason form under Brian Schottenheimer. But yeah, makes a lot of sense. No reason for LA to do anything but just keep padding his pockets full of money.
Jack Campbell got his pockets padded this week. The all-pro linebacker of the Detroit Lions reached an agreement on a 4-year, $81 million extension. It includes over $51 million in guaranteed money. And in terms of the total money, it puts Jack Campbell right near the top, in between Fred Warner, who's number 1, and Roquan Smith, who's number 2, I guess now number 3, in terms of the highest paid linebackers in the NFL. Azeez Al-Shaair is sitting right there, making $18 a year, under Roquan Smith's $20 a year, and Jack Campbell now makes $20.5 million a year. A deserved contract for Jack Campbell after a monster season for Detroit.
Awesome player. Just quickly, do Titans fans have any remorse about Azeez? Because he didn't want to be here after a year, so it's not like I don't necessarily know that. I mean, you could have paid him enough money to want to stay. They did let him go. I don't know if there's any regret about letting Azeez Al-Shaair.
He's been a good player in Houston, but if
he's on an awesome defense.
Yeah, no doubt. He's surrounded by arguably the most talented front in the NFL.
And he was a good player here.
He was. He broke a single-season record in tackles, although he did have one extra game to do it, which Stephen Tulloch did not, who previously held the record. But if there's any feeling towards Azeez Al-Shaair from Titans fans, it is screw that guy, right? Yeah. After clubbing Cam Ward in the head yesterday, and that went no called last season, and he's had several.
The Trevor Lawrence
stuff. He's had several instances like that.
Yeah. I don't know. He's a good player that went, again, there's a lot of player revisionist history that you could do with the Titans if you really wanted to. On Jack Campbell, if I made you guess where he ranked in Pro Football Focus overall grade last year among linebackers, 88 qualified linebackers.
One?
He's number 2.
Behind Fred Warner?
Behind Fred Warner. Well, Fred, in fact, I want to make sure that Fred played enough, actually, to qualify for that, because I have Jack Campbell's page pulled up. I can look at the rankings here in just a second. I imagine Fred Warner's up there. He played over 1,000 snaps.
Yeah.
Last year. He's just awesome. And also effective, highly effective player. So, like, that, how are we going to go back and we're talking about, like, value propositions in football and Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell and kind of before the Titans ended up going with Carnell Tate, which I think a lot of people have just come around to, like, if he ends up being a A- player for his career or A player or B+ player, it's just somebody that you can trust. Like I heard him compared to, like, if he ends up being a Chris Godwin, just like a solid-ass number 2 wide receiver. Worth it for a team like the Titans. In the same way, you talk about Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs in that draft in the first round. If they end up being solid contributing players on a good football team, they're better than that. They've obviously exceeded any level of expectation. How much smarter does it make Brad Holmes look by just going with the good football player strategy on a team that had a lot of good football players already?
A comment in the F&M Bank chat from Daniel says that Lions draft is like our 2019 draft. Elite. That is going back to
Laporta's also in there.
2023 draft.
Who else?
That's Jahmyr Gibbs, right?
Yeah. But we've been talking about Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell.
So who else was in that draft class for Detroit? So, and it's funny because that's the one where they go to quote-unquote non-high value positions in the first round in running back and linebacker. Jahmyr Gibbs with the 12th pick, Jack Campbell with the 18th pick, Sam Laporta in the second round, Brian Branch, Hendon Hooker, who is now a Titan. And that pretty much rounds it out. Then you've got defensive tackle Broderick Martin, offensive lineman Colby Swordsdahl, wide receiver Antoine Green. But unfortunately, outside of Hooker, really the first 4 picks of that draft, high-level players.
Before we move on, Levis, hadn't seen him throw a football in almost a year, I guess. Hendon Hooker out there as well.
How'd Hooker look slinging it around?
Threw an interception to Anthony Hill.
Damn.
Levis threw one to somebody. I had no idea who that guy was. I don't have my roster in front of me, but it was not a name that I knew. Cam, not a bad day. Not a bad day. We can talk more about the Titans quarterback situation a little later on. But I sat there laughing. I'm like, Hendon Hooker is going to give me something to talk about, I feel like, all year long for absolutely no reason and for him to likely be cut by the end of the year. But he's here now.
Well, sounds like some Browns quarterbacks had a bad day because Todd Monken spoke with the media.
This is so good.
It's funny. Cameron Justice of WEWS in Cleveland put this out there. And she quotes it as, she sets it up like this. I asked Browns' Todd Monken about the defensive plays made today. A couple of interceptions and a forced fumble. So it sounds like she's asking it from the perspective of, hey, your defense out there making some plays today. But Todd Monken took it in another direction. So that is an offensive mind right there. No love for the defense, just embarrassed that his offense was turning it over in 7-on-7.
Todd, it is the 3rd day of OTAs. Why does your voice sound like that?
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
What's that going to look like in week 9?
It's like Tom Izzo. Oh, man. Deshaun Watson's going to start for them, right?
I guess.
What the hell is that going to look like? I kind of don't hate the Browns. I mean, I don't love Deshaun for different reasons, but I kind of don't hate the idea of the Browns football team, but then I don't know what to do with the quarterback. And I suppose it's possible, plausible even, that Deshaun Watson never regains his form and could get benched for Shedeur. It's not like they have financial obligations to Deshaun Watson past this year, but at a certain point they can cut him with a little more ease. So I guess he could get benched for Shedeur, and Shedeur's not a bad or maybe the worst option. That just seems like, what is the dialogue of Shedeur Sanders, backup quarterback, going to be all year long with Watson likely to underperform again?
Yeah, if Watson's struggling, it'll obviously be a distraction and something that hangs over the Browns all season. So
do you avoid it by just starting Shedeur if it's close?
I don't know. Did you see this from Jeremy Fowler about Deshaun Watson? So the article is on ESPN by Fowler and Daniel Oyefusi. Maybe is he the Browns NFL Nation reporter? I'm not sure. But the article is titled, "Why Browns Are Giving Deshaun Watson Another Chance to Be QB1." And Jeremy Fowler, in posting the article, quoted it and captioned it on Twitter by saying, "Deshaun Watson holds no ill will toward Cleveland, despite rocky tenure. Believes Todd Monken's offense can bring out his best."
I'm sorry, what? Read that to me again?
Deshaun Watson holds no ill will towards Cleveland, despite rocky tenure. Like, I'm sorry, who doesn't hold any ill will?
Oh, no.
The guy who got $230 million fully guaranteed?
Are there quotes?
Amongst just a litany of sexual assault allegations and at no point a glimmer of good quarterback play? I'm glad he holds no ill will. That's good. I'm glad he doesn't hold a grudge against the team that gave him $230 million sight unseen for playing bad football and being embroiled in sexual assault allegations. It's really good.
Is he quoted in that?
I'm scrolling through here
because I'm dying to. I need to know what he said.
Here's a quote from Todd Monken. "To try and look at that film and say that's Deshaun Watson is unfair." And this was at league meetings. He said, "I don't know the system they changed to when Ken Dorsey came in and what they were running. I don't know that. I don't know what they were asking him to do. Or the year before when the Browns came over and beat the Ravens there. I don't know. I just know what I've seen over the years. I've seen a really good football player, and we're hoping to be able to tap into that. I know he's excited, and we're excited to work with him."
Okay, so I don't know where the headline comes from about no ill will if he's not quoted. Yeah. I don't want to rip him.
He's not quoted.
That's interesting to me. I would be surprised if there wasn't a Watson quote associated with that, or at least some level of reporting around people close to Watson or something, because that immediately makes me and you have the same reaction.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is, what are you talking about, dude?
Do you remember Jimmy Haslam mentioning the contract and calling it a swing and a miss?
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it, because there's an excerpt in the article that says Watson has maintained a good rapport with the team and Haslam, despite the blunt swing and miss comment. Apparently, Jimmy and D. Haslam attended his wedding in July. And after his second Achilles surgery, he remained around the team, conducted the bulk of his rehab in Cleveland. So I don't know if that's what it would stem from, the fact that the owner said it was a swing and miss.
It could be. Okay. And maybe it's unfair of media guy to say this, but I do find professional athletes to have a heightened level of sensitivity in a lot of situations. And why wouldn't you? Especially if you're an athlete that's online, you are constantly being attacked by people who bet your overs or your unders or all these different things, fantasy football, all this other nonsense. You're dealing with scrutiny a lot. So I would understand a heightened level of sensitivity. That would be something that could, that, especially dudes talking about money. And I remember a situation with, I guess this would have been just, Calvin Ridley's first year was 2024.
Yep.
Calvin Ridley getting, very animated, for lack of a better term, in the middle of that 2024 mess about, people comparing his level of production to his compensation. And that's, I think it is fair to point out when you start to make that kind of money and it's public that people would bring up your level of compensation relative to your level of productivity if your productivity is not meeting at least some baseline level of operation. But athletes do tend to have a heightened level of sensitivity. I think there's a lot of people in a lot of different jobs who also have a heightened level of sensitivity just dealing with professional athletes. I know there are certain buttons. Money's one of them. Yeah. Your microphone's
Yes.
Okay, very good.
We did not get to this yesterday, but Aaron Rodgers has kind of casually announced that this is indeed officially his last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Already knew he was signing on a one-year deal with Pittsburgh, and Brooke Pryor of ESPN straight up asked him, is this it? He said, yes, this is it. So this is the Aaron Rodgers farewell tour, I suppose. And one of his last games, assuming health, will be in the final regular season game at Nissan Stadium this fall.
Do we believe him?
Yeah, I believe him. It's the first time he's ever said, yep, this is the one. Last
Definitively,
ride.
You're right. It's the first time.
Like, the guy is 42 years old. He will be 43 by season's end. So I do believe.
There is immediate skepticism in the chat. Daniel on YouTube says, sure it is. When you're talking about how much money did he make this year, or could he make this year?
I think
25?
it's up to 25.
Okay. When you're talking about that amount of money, and I understand that he has made a tremendous amount of money, but if somebody comes to you next year with quarterback prices going the way that they are and say, hey, Aaron, maybe one more for 30? Maybe one more for 28? How we feeling, big guy? Like, it is a substantial amount of money, even when you have made, to most people, what is all the money in the world, more money than you could ever imagine. Because his career earnings, he has to be close to 400 mil, right? Somewhere.
It has to be.
But, again, if you're talking about building generational wealth for whatever you or your family might want to do in your life, I do think that temptation is always there. So I have a little more skepticism. I tend to agree with you that it is probably his last year. But there is always going to be that voice in the back of your head saying, but it's $30 million, bud.
But
we think about it.
Who's going to give him $30 million at the age of 43?
You don't. Somebody just paid Phillip Rivers to come out of retirement as a high school football coach and quarterback like 5 games. What do you mean? Are you insane? That is the most likely scenario. People are going to call Aaron Rodgers until he's 47, you know?
Yeah.
You don't think somebody at some point in the last 2 seasons, you don't think somebody thought about calling Brady?
Yeah, for sure. No, you're probably right. But I do believe that this is it for him.
Sure.
So no clue what to expect from Aaron Rodgers or the Steelers in 2026. We've already had that conversation. But, man, he's going to be 43 on December 2nd. So there will be a full month left in the NFL regular season. And he's going to be out there slinging it at 43 years old. So Steelers better keep him off the ground, which
they did draft.
He was fairly healthy last year.
He's got 2 first-round tackles. They drafted that Jennings Dunker dude, the guard out of Iowa. Like, I don't know if all those guys are going to start right away, but like that offense, I don't know. When's the last time you've thought, I want to watch the Pittsburgh Steelers offense?
I don't know. Lev Bell, maybe? AB and Lev Bell?
It's been a while, right? Maybe Martavis Bryant was somewhere in there when he was staying off the weed. And Jalen Warren is a fun player. Najee Harris had like a moment, but it's been a while since I've objectively said, no, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense should be dynamic.
Yep.
And I kind of feel that way this year. Other than, the decrepit old quarterback.
I mean, credit to Rodgers. Since the Achilles, he's not been like in and out. He's been healthy. He's played. I don't think he's had like an injury spell since coming back from the Achilles.
Perhaps a lack of seed oil.
So maybe that's it. The Giants are reportedly set to sign GM Joe Shane to a multi-year contract extension, which is surprising, I think. I think we all saw him as a lame duck GM with John Harbaugh getting in there and having more roster control. It was a key point of their contract negotiations and hiring Harbaugh after the Ravens fired him. But Jordan Renan of ESPN reporting that Joe Shane looks like he's going to be locked in. His contract was set to expire after the upcoming season. And Shane said earlier this week, sitting alongside Harbaugh, quote, we were able to get on the same page right off the bat in terms of what we were looking for in terms of team building, trying to find the right type of guys that fit our scheme and our system. We were aligned from day one, so it's been great. It's been a really good offseason for us. So Joe Shane, man, like, a dude's just a cockroach up there in New York.
Maybe they're saying, well, maybe we pay the dad and keep the son, who's smarter at personnel than the father seems to be. Because he got the Saquon
the little,
thing
like
right.
the kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kid from Hard
famously.
Knocks.
So he took over as the GM in 2022, along with Brian Dable as the head coach. And seems like he's going to survive longer into the Harbaugh era, which obviously has yet to begin.
So it's a little bit of a cockroach situation, right? You just kind of have to find a way to survive the nuclear bomb that just went off in your life, and finding ways to dip and dive and duck and dodge and dip, all these different things.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a GM, right, we've talked about it, and you lose that opportunity, you don't really get another one very often.
No.
Like, it just doesn't really happen. So
Who is the last repeat general manager?
Oh,
I'm sure we've done this exercise before, but I'm struggling. I'm trying to cycle through the divisions in my head right now. I'm having a really hard time coming up with a second tenure GM in the NFL.
Yeah, some of the notable ones, John Dorsey
Yeah.
for the Chiefs and the Browns.
Been several years ago.
I mean, Bill Polian, legend,
Yeah.
served as GM for
Even
multiple teams.
Longer ago.
Yeah. So, no, it's far. Mike Holmgren, but it's far and few between. Yeah, was Holmgren the head coach and GM?
Carrot Top just got in my ear and said Trent Baalke. So that was Niners and then
Niners
Jags.
and Jags. Yep, that's a good shout.
And people hate him. Which is crazy. He's back somewhere in some kind of like personnel advisory role.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, this isn't like
Somebody said J-Rob. No, John.
he's with the Browns. Baalke. He's a consultant for the Browns.
John is not a GM. He is an assistant. Or no, I think he's like a senior personnel advisor for the Dolphins. Again, running the show.
Yeah.
You very rarely get a second opportunity. So that is interesting to see. Those are your headlines?
That's it.
Very good. We will get some SEC observations coming up next. Nothing worse than a plumbing, HVAC, or electrical emergency. You don't know what it will cost, or if it will get fixed correctly, or if someone is just trying to upsell you on the problem that you may or may not have because you don't fully understand all the different workings with your electrical system, your plumbing, or your HVAC units. That's when you call Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, because they're experts. They're going to solve your problems quickly. And most importantly, the price you're told is the price you'll actually pay. No hidden fees, no surprises when you get your bill. Hiller has been in business for over 35 years. They're family owned and operated. Their techs are professional, experienced, and trustworthy. When they're on their way, you'll receive a photo of the tech and a link to track them in real time, so you don't waste time waiting around. 100% satisfaction guaranteed of happy you'll be, or the service is free. That's the Happy Hiller promise. So book online today at happyhiller.com.
So, man, it has not really been discussed, but the SEC tournament is happening down in Hoover. Locally, it has as little significance as it has had, man, since I don't know when. I really don't.
I had no idea the SEC tournament was going on.
It's happening in Hoover. Both Tennessee and Vandy are out of it. They both played on Tuesday in the first round. They both won and then were eliminated Wednesday. Vanderbilt to Florida, Tennessee to Arkansas. So one semifinal is set. Florida and Georgia will face off coming up at noon Central Time down in Hoover. And the other semifinal has yet to be decided. Arkansas and Texas are going head-to-head. I'm assuming those games had to be moved due to weather. But those games will be played this afternoon. So this is interesting. So one semifinal is set for Saturday. The other semifinal will be set this afternoon, 3 p.m. Arkansas will face Texas, and then 7 p.m. Auburn will face Texas A&M, and we'll see Georgia the 1 seed in the SEC tournament. But the stat of the day is 19 because that is the number of consecutive NCAA tournament regional appearances, essentially NCAA tournament appearances, in other words, that Vanderbilt baseball has made. It's the longest active streak in the nation, and it's in danger of coming to an end. This is the first time. What was that?
That was me.
Your phone?
Well, Robert is sending us videos of the show while on vacation.
Why does he do this?
Do we need to have like some kind of like intervention on real time or in real time without him here? Because clearly he's watching. Listen to me. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are with Cheyenne, go away. Go enjoy your fiance and your family. Get out of here already. All right? We don't need you. Today.
So Vanderbilt is actually going to have to sit and watch the selection show, which will happen Monday. We will be off Monday. I hope everybody enjoys their Memorial Day weekend. But 10 a.m. Central Time, the NCAA selection show will be on, and Vandy will be sitting there watching, and it's far from a sure thing. I don't know that the odds are in their favor, to be honest, after crashing out of the second round. And it could end a very, very long streak. If I was good at this, I would have done some research to see the last time that both Tennessee and Vanderbilt were not even participating in the SEC tournament quarterfinals.
Ricky is saying in the YouTube chat, it will be the first time in 5 years, I believe, that the state of Tennessee does not outright win the SEC tournament. I know that's not quite what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, it's pretty, it's a pretty stark departure from what we're used to, because I feel like, I don't know, Lucas, you tell me.
I don't think that's true, by the way. I don't think that someone out of Tennessee has won it each of the last 5 years, but continue.
Okay. That's my mistake for not vetting the YouTube chat.
No, that is correct. Oh, okay. I apologize. Last year it was Vanderbilt. Year before that, Tennessee. Year before that, Vanderbilt. Year before that, Tennessee. You got to go back to 2021 when Arkansas beat Tennessee in the SEC championship game, the last time a non-Tennessee team won the tournament. So my apologies to the F&M Bank chat.
So you tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like every year that you and me have been on the air, almost.
Yes.
Maybe not the first year, 2021, but every year that we've been on the air, we have talked a great deal of college baseball.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, Tennessee was in the College World Series in 2021. I think, if I'm not mistaken, both Tennessee and Vanderbilt were in 2021.
Yeah, so every year that you and me have been on the air, and this year, I mean, it's ignorance on my part. It's not an excuse. I should know what's going on, but like, I had no concept of the SEC. I just no dialogue, no buzz. Nobody's asking us to talk about it. Obviously, Corbin and Vitello are not, Corbin is still doing managing and coaching over at Vanderbilt. Vitello's in the pros, and I'll be honest, I have not paid attention to what's going on with the Giants since that first game on Netflix. But I don't know. That feels, it's just a void. It's kind of saved us from too much OTAs talk in the last couple of years to have Tennessee or Vandy doing this, and I would rather one of them be good at college baseball and give us something to talk about. I think we've had a lot of fun with it. It's a shame for both programs to be in a down spot at the same time. But tell me if I'm not mistaken about this. I saw a graphic maybe a couple of weeks ago about Josh Elander that he has won as many games in his first season as a head coach as anybody in Tennessee history?
Yeah, technically it's the most wins by a first-year head coach in Tennessee baseball history.
Okay, so what is that? Because obviously that's good, but he's coming off a situation where Vitello had created a monster over the course of the last couple of years. I don't know if people are going to look at this and be like, well, he's just winning with Vitello's players right now.
I mean, it was always going to be a transition year. To think that it was just going to be, hand the baton and keep doing the same thing we've been doing, I think was always unrealistic. Tennessee got hot down the stretch. They won 3 of their last 4 SEC series, and Tennessee should be in the college baseball postseason. They finished certainly stronger than Vanderbilt did, though Vanderbilt absolutely takes the rivalry this year after walking Tennessee off 3 times to sweep the Vols at Hawkins Field in what was a really earlier than usual rivalry weekend in SEC baseball. So Tennessee fully expects to be in the regionals. Vanderbilt still could. We'll see how the chips fall with the selection show on Monday, but no question, this has been probably the worst year for both teams concurrently in quite some time. Now, obviously, Vanderbilt has sort of held up their end of the bargain a lot longer than Tennessee has. Tennessee had some bad teams while Tim Corbin and the Commodores were doing their thing. And it was really until the Tony Vitello era that Tennessee sort of joined that club and then kind of, jumped over Vanderbilt for just a little bit, winning that national championship. But I do think the Vols will be playing postseason baseball. So we'll see. Brandon on the F&M Bank chat says he thinks Tennessee will be a 2 seed in the regionals. He said, can't judge this year yet. So, yeah, it's college baseball. We'll see if Tennessee can make a run. Their bats have gotten hot towards the end of the season. And Josh Elander will still have a point to prove in the postseason. But I guess that streak had to end at some point for Tim Corbin and Vandy baseball. 19 years is an insane feat, man. It's pretty incredible stuff. I mean, it's basically almost every year of the Corbin era.
Carrot Top, we do not have Friday Fire yet. We will have it at 11:45 today. But when we get to Friday Fire, what do we have to give away in the second hour?
Give us a call, 615-737-1045, with a moment of positivity, and you will have a chance to win 2 tickets to see Thomas Rhett and Niall Horan at Giottis Park on July 9th.
Nice. Very nice. Giottis Park. So they're getting more regularly into the concert rotation thing.
Yeah, it should be a cool summer. I mean, they're going to have watch party stuff for the World Cup. They're going to have a bunch of cool concerts.
That's at 11:45 today, by the way. Don't call us. Not yet.
Not yet.
11:45.
Yeah, I have yet to go to a concert at Giottis Park. You've been to a concert at Giottis Park.
Robert and me both went to the Tyler Childers concert, which again, and what's the
Charlie Crockett.
Charlie Crockett. Okay,
he's playing Music City Rodeo next weekend.
I like both of their music. They are a bit sleepy as a live show, or at least in that kind of a venue, especially Crockett. Like, he played for a very long time when we got there, and it was, it's old country western songs, and a lot of times he's up there with just an acoustic guitar, and you're like, okay, I need a little juice, just a little more here.
I could listen to that for 3 hours.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess I was just like, I don't know. I need something. I need a little more. Need a little more energy here, but that's not on them. That's on me, I guess. So we will have that at 11:45, the second hour, coming up next. Two Rivers Ford is always going above and beyond for their customers. I didn't tell Lucas and Robert this, by the way, but we got Lily, my sister, a Two Rivers Ford Escape the other day. She's had a Escape, I think it's like 2012, 2013. Either way, it's getting up there in years, and the transmission was finally starting to go. So I said, you know what? I've got the perfect place. And in fact, it's the perfect time because it's employee pricing for everyone. So it's not like I need any kind of special deal or I got Lily any kind of special deal on her vehicle because Two Rivers Ford already has this going on. Employee pricing for everyone. So I pay, Lily paid, you'll pay what they pay on nearly every vehicle on the Ford lot. In fact, the whole Ford lineup, F-150s, Broncos, Explorers, and Expeditions. And when you buy from Two Rivers Ford, you're buying from a locally owned family business that's been here for over 4 decades, which is why they do this kind of stuff, because they treat you like family. So put a Ford in your driveway. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Happy Friday from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs 104.5 The Zone studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans coach Robert Saleh met with the media yesterday at OTAs, was asked about quarterback Cam Ward and his health during the offseason program, and said Cam's arm is perfectly healthy after Ward had a shoulder injury to end the 2025 regular season. In other NFL news, Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford landed a one-year extension in L.A. worth $55 million and up to $60 million. The Stanley Cup playoffs last night, the Hurricanes lost for the first time in this postseason in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final, 6-2 the final to the Canadiens. Tonight, it's Game 2 in the West. The Avs host the Golden Knights. Vegas leads at 1-0. Puck drop is at 7. In the NBA, the Knicks took Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals 109-93, taking a 2-0 series lead over the Cavaliers before the series moves back to Cleveland. And in the West, the Spurs will host Game 3 against the Thunder. That series is split at 1 apiece. Tip-off at 7:30. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Nothing better than having Ed Orgeron back in college football. Now, obviously, I was at Titans practice yesterday, Titans OTAs. They're obviously off for the holiday weekend. Hope you guys are getting ready for a fun and enjoyable holiday weekend. Perhaps you've already got your holiday weekend started. Robert Walsh has. Lucas is going to dip out of here after this segment and head on over to Giottis Park. He's got some pregame responsibilities before Nashville SC plays. It's NYFC?
NYCFC.
NYCFC.
Yeah. Which, speaking of NYC, I won't be here for Friday Fire, but my Friday Fire is Adidas putting out a commercial of Alex Muyl, Nashville SC midfielder Alex Muyl, who we've talked about it on the show, grew up and played soccer his whole life with Timothy Chalamet, growing up in New York City. And Adidas just put out a commercial with Alex Muyl and Timothy Chalamet, like opening up a new box of soccer cleats and kicking the ball around. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I asked Lucas, I was like, will people know who Alex Muyl is? And he's like, probably not.
I mean, remember I told you when I was in Lisbon, the one of our boat guides on our little sunset tour saw my Nashville SC pullover and was like, oh, Nashville SC, they got a guy that is friends with Timothy Chalamet. Because that clip when Timothy Chalamet was on...
what a bizarre way to connect the dots.
It had the guy going online and looking up Alex Muyl and his stats and stuff. So that Theo Vaughn podcast clip where Timothy Chalamet brings up Alex, it did go viral. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's kind of his claim to fame a little bit. Foot Mozart. Yeah, that's how Timmy Schall referred to Alex
Foot
Muyl.
Mozart?
Yeah, he's a foot Mozart. I think that was a Theo Vaughn-ism.
I love Timothy Chalamet. I think that he's been getting some heat. Have you seen the heat that he's been getting?
Why?
For dismissing the art of ballet.
Oh yeah, he was under fire for
People
that.
very, very upset in the Hollywood world for dismissing at Timothy Chalamet for being dismissive of ballet. But I think that was in a 60 Minutes interview or something like that. I started with Ed O, and I know that you guys talked about this briefly yesterday. I also would love to talk a little bit about Will Wade. I know you guys probably did more Will Wade yesterday.
We played the audio of Jeff Goodman just ripping him apart on Jocks 94.5 down in Birmingham, our sister station. And to be honest, I didn't know the full details of Will Wade's roster build at LSU until I saw those Goodman comments.
Brother.
I'm like, what is he going so in about? And then it was like, oh my God.
The average age of their roster is 23.
That's insane. I mean, they're going to have a 25-year-old that was drafted in the NBA draft 6 years ago.
That's right.
25, and he's going to be a freshman.
Correct.
He's going to be a true freshman.
Yes.
He'll turn 26 before conference play starts. This dude could feasibly be a senior at the age of 30, like Bobby Boucher style. And it makes sense down in Baton Rouge, I guess. But my goodness. Shame.
He had to be there for 5 seconds, all of 5 seconds, before he immediately figured out, okay, the things that I did the last time that I got in trouble are legal now. how can I further skirt the NCAA rules as close as humanly possible? Let me get this dude who has two different NBA logos on his transfer portal picture because of the time that he spent in the pros in some offshoot, right? G League or otherwise.
Most of it was in Europe, which he had like a nice stint in Europe. He won a championship in Europe. He played for like Bayern Munich. So, yeah, it is amazing. But our conversation, Robert and I, yesterday was the sport is wide open for slime balls to get in there and do slime ball things with their roster. So we can't sit back and just get mad over and over at the slime balls being slime balls. Robert very eloquently referred to the Aesop fable, where you can't get mad at the scorpion for being a scorpion or the snake for being a snake.
It was like my Dion thing the other day.
Exactly. So, Will Wade, bit of a scumbag. We already knew that. So we're gonna get like re-mad at Will Wade for being a scumbag, or are we gonna look at the state of things and say, okay, but you fully allow this to happen?
And if not wanted this to happen, right? I mean, he's gonna win. He's gonna win there. He's got a roster that's damn near 25 years old across the board,
and he's a good basketball coach.
Yes. So, again, it continues to be funny to me that we have so many less guardrails in college sports than we do in pro sports. When the whole point was, we've got to protect these student athletes. We've got to protect them from outside interest. We have to protect the sanctity of education. Okay, Will Wade. Just total hypocrisy right out of the gate. How many times today are you going to forget to turn on your microphone? I know you're done.
That's two.
I know that you're only on the show for an hour and 15 minutes. 2 times in an hour and 15 minutes, not great for live radio.
That's 2.
Kiffin actually did a good thing. Kiffin brought back Ed Orgeron to LSU. Did you see this clip that I sent to you and Robert on Instagram? So it's Ed Orgeron doing an interview with Pardon My Take, the two podcasters from Barstool Sports. Mm-hmm. And this, I think, was prior or right at the onset of Lane Kiffin being hired by LSU is when they talked to Orgeron. So Orgeron had not yet accepted another position to return to Baton Rouge. And they were asking him about advice that he would give to Lane Kiffin. He said, just recruit the people of Louisiana every day as much as you recruit players everywhere. You recruit them daily. You involve them. You respect the people, the culture, because it is very unique. Louisiana is a very unique place in a country full of unique places. There's very few places that are more to themselves and about themselves more than the state of Louisiana, I think you could argue. Mm-hmm. So this is Kiffin recruiting the people of Louisiana every day with the guy who may as well be the Tiger mascot in Ed Orgeron, just the swamp monster himself.
All he has to do is get in there and be Ed Orgeron.
Oh, it's so good.
That's it. And it's funny to me that he has this title of assistant in recruiting and defense, but I wonder how much input he's actually going to have on the defensive side of the ball. But he has, as we talked about yesterday, he's worked for Kiffin at multiple different stops. This relationship goes way back to when Kiffin was the coach at Tennessee, when Kiffin was the coach at USC. So this is not a thing where Kiffin said, all right, how can I win over some folks? He knows Ed Orgeron very, very well. And so it just made too much sense.
Well, and in a sport, the value of recruiting next to the transfer portal, Lucas, in your estimation is what? Because I do think it's program dependent.
Yeah, it's important. But again, we talked about this yesterday too. I don't know. I think we're trending, or we're in a place now where I don't think it's where you should be devoting the most resources.
Right. It's the transfer portal is an inefficiency, and you need to exploit it as much as you can, a la Will Wade. So for Orgeron, though, it is still important to have some level of foundational recruiting. You drop him in the middle of Louisiana and let him go and sit in living rooms and eat gumbo and tell stories and talk about the time that he tried to get Adrian Peterson's dad transferred to a different prison so that Adrian Peterson would play for him.
Yep.
So he could be near his family.
I mean, but you're not just talking about that. You're talking about, hey, Ed, could you go do this touchdown club thing and talk to all these boosters.
How much more would you rather have him at that if you're a LSU booster than Kiffin?
100%. Hey, could you mind going to this dinner to schmooze this donor over here?
You know that little muppet of a governor that's always running around and yelling things in a Cajun accent? Why don't you go hang out with him for a little bit, and I'll handle the rest of this stuff.
It feels like there's off-field stuff, just outside of football stuff that Ed Orgeron could just take off of Kiffin's plate. It just makes too much sense.
I'm very happy to see Ed Orgeron back in college football. Just generally, I think that's going to be a great time had by all. LSU's athletic department right now. I know we've talked about the axis of evil type of situation and whether you want to lump Kiffin into that, whether he's actually evil or just annoying, as opposed to Will Wade, who, for my money, Lucas, is as nefarious a character in his sport as any coach going right now.
Yep. I'd say so.
I don't know. Maybe Pitino almost had like a bit of a return to prominence is not the right word, but like grace. Like people seem to like
He's nowhere near among like the most hated coaches in college basketball right now.
And I guess all it takes is for you to, go through the kind of path that Rick Pitino has and get back to St. John's and take a program that used to matter in a real way back to prominence, and Pitino has done that to his credit. So it's this hero to villain arc to hero again for Pitino, because he probably would have been second place on that list outside of Will Wade. Kim Mulkey is a different entity entirely, and I know plenty of people have their own problems with Kim Mulkey. I know a lot of her former players have problems with Kim Mulkey for the way that she goes about it. There's no question that all three are highly effective at what they do. So do we think it's a gamble? Like the collection of coaches that LSU has acquired? Because if it wins, all of them across the board.
They're all
winners.
Yeah.
All winners across the board. Does it matter any of the other concerns?
Could it?
Will Wade is the most concerning, right? Kiffin's harmless. Maybe he throws almost too racist for me barb in a Vanity Fair article, but like, what's he going to do? Will Wade is actually like, I don't know.
Could
I feel like we should have somebody watch that guy.
Any one of those three situations could combust, it feels like, at any given time because of the personalities of the coaches.
But for such different
reasons.
reasons.
The egos, sure. Hell, who knows, like, what scandals could pop up around them, right? Maybe Kim Mulkey's just been like bullying somebody in that facility or something, and somebody comes out. But I'm not alleging anything. I'm saying like they are the type of personalities where it just feels like you're going to see them in the news one reason or another, but they're going to win too. And LSU is signing up for it. And people are going to show up to games in a big way and watch them. So, yeah, it's all going to end up making sense from an LSU perspective. Even if and when one of those three or any of those three situations blow up, it will have been worth it because they're going to win a lot of games. All three of them are going to win a ton of games at LSU and already have in the case of Mulkey.
Plug your soccer broadcast and then get out of here.
All right, we're on the air at 7 tomorrow at Giottis Park. Kickoff is at 7:30. Nashville looking to stay at the top of the league standings all summer if they can win against NYCFC Saturday night. Looking forward to it.
And who are you talking to pregame?
Ahmed Qasim, who looks like he's headed to the World Cup to represent Iraq, will be the only Nashville player playing in the World Cup, so he'll be on our pregame show.
All right. Lucas is out of here. We'll keep talking. We'll talk some Titans. We'll talk some football. Greg Cosell will play you a snippet of the install coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. So Lucas on assignment, Robert already in, I think, North Carolina for the long Memorial Day weekend. Hope you guys get the opportunity to enjoy your Labor Day weekend as well. We will get back to some Titans conversation here in a little while. And in fact, Steve Lehman of News Channel 5 is going to come in here. We were both out at OTAs yesterday. Talked to Cam Ward, Amani Hooker, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Peter Skoronski. Learned a lot about the coaching staff and everything that they plan to implement, how they differ from the people that they have succeeded here. Not even a couple of years of Brian Callahan, but like a year and 6 games of Brian Callahan, and just some of the different changes that they're making both on the practice field and off. Because, of course, Robert Saleh went a bit viral, for lack of a better term, talking about dietary changes that they are implementing in the building as well. What I do want to get to today is a little bit of Greg Cosell. Normally, we would play you a snippet of the install on Thursdays after we tape a new episode, but we had the interview with Solomon Thomas, who I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Titans defensive lineman who comes to Tennessee by way of Dallas and who has a very interesting career path as a number 3 overall pick several years ago, and his family's efforts to work through suicide prevention and education. I really hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. I know it's tough subject matter, but to hear how he is going about changing other people's lives after his family was so dramatically affected, I really enjoyed talking to him about that and learning more about that. So we played that interview for you yesterday. We want to get to a little bit of Greg Cosell today. So here is yesterday's most recent episode of The Install. Welcome into The Install with Greg Cosell of NFL Films. Greg, always good to see you. We're going to continue our divisional previews, just kind of an opportunity to look at some of these teams post-draft and as we work our way into OTAs. In fact, as we tape this on a Thursday morning, I'm heading out to Titans OTAs. Be our first opportunity to see the vets and the rookies start to intermingle.
Yeah, no, it's it's crazy how, I mean, it's already kind of late May already, yeah. And it's not that far away. It's, obviously my season doesn't end with the Super Bowl because I go right through the draft, obviously, and then I think, oh man, I got a lot of free time, and now it seems like I don't have a lot of free time, but that's kind of the way it works every year.
Yeah, no doubt. The whole situation for the coaching staff is different here in Tennessee. So basically, I don't know. I think I'm going to learn more about how coaches run practices as I am about players today. Right. Just as we kind of get acclimated with Saleh and Dable and Bradley and all the new faces that are around here in Tennessee. Speaking of returning situations, though, or familiar faces, Aaron Rodgers made it official on Saturday. 2 things that he's made official. 1, that he's coming back to the Steelers on Saturday. 2, yesterday, is that it's going to be his final season. And I figured that gave us an easy entryway to talk about the AFC North, a fascinating division. So let's start with Pittsburgh, if we could, under Mike McCarthy. A known commodity, obviously, the head coach and the quarterback reuniting after many, many years in a Super Bowl win together in Green Bay. A very different roster. They have certainly addressed a number of different needs that they had, and specifically their skill guys, as I look at their draft and their offseason, Greg. And with Rodgers, we've talked about him before. You're running his offense, or the offense as he sees it. For the most part, nobody will have a better understanding of that than Mike McCarthy. What are your biggest questions about the Steelers ahead of this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they'll be able to work together because they know each other well. And obviously, you're not going to run things that Aaron Rodgers doesn't feel comfortable with at this point in his career. Believe it or not, I know he's the big story because he's returning. But at this point in his career, I think that the run game is critical for this team. They've clearly been addressing their offensive line. I mean, look what they've just done this year. Their first-round pick and their third-round pick were offensive linemen. They've made a major change. Broderick Jones, who was the first-round pick, now obviously he has not panned out. So they're moving Troy Fautanu to left tackle, which is the position he played at the University of Washington. And it's likely that the rookie, Ihenacore, I'm not exactly sure if that's the correct pronunciation.
Yep.
Yeah. he's going to likely start at right tackle. He's a player whose tape I really liked. And he's only going to get better. So it's very likely that they're going to have 2 first-round picks, one at left tackle, one at right tackle. And they drafted Jennings Dunker from Iowa in the 3rd round. He will probably compete for a guard spot, a starting guard spot, probably the left guard spot. So this will be a revamped O-line. And I think that's absolutely critical because, look, Rodgers can obviously still throw the football, but he's not going to be exactly the same player he wasn't last year. So, I think that as much as the talk will be about him, Buck, I think it's really these other pieces that are probably more important than Rodgers in some ways.
Yeah, and that's, with the Michael Pittman acquisition, right? I also like the fact that they drafted Jeremy Bernard, as you mentioned, in the 2nd round this year. They have definitely, and typical Rodgers, he was going to wait around and see how things played out before I think he made his decision. And as is his right, take all the factors into consideration and move forward from there. But it's definitely they have clearly taken the approach this offseason that they were going to eventually get him back in the building. He's there for OTAs for what it's worth, and they're going to try and support him in as many ways as possible. I think their offseason acquisitions reflected that.
I couldn't agree more. And Bernard, to me, you've seen him a lot being in SEC territory. He strikes me, I mean, being stereotypical but true. He's kind of a stealer. He's tough, he's competitive, he's physical. It would not surprise me at all if he ends up being their 3rd wideout. Obviously they have DK Metcalf and Pittman, and Bernard and Pittman can line up in multiple locations within your formation. Metcalf's sort of the boundary X type player. But Bernard is that kind of player. I mean, this is a team, when you look at what I think they've done this offseason, I think on offense, they really want to be physical. Like I said, obviously Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback and he can still make throws, but I don't see this, again, sitting here in sort of mid to late May, Buck. I don't see this as an Aaron Rodgers offense. I think, he's obviously an important piece, but I think this is an offense. They want to be physical. They want to be able to run the football, and even their receivers are physical.
Speaking of physical, the Cleveland Browns are trying to up their physicality on offense, and their draft again reflected that approach under first-time head coach Todd Monken. He's coming into a situation that's, we'll call it convoluted at minimum on the offensive side of the ball. We understand their quarterback situation, or maybe I shouldn't say that, Greg. I don't really know if I understand the Browns quarterback situation heading into this year, but obviously we know Todd Monken across a couple of different stops.
Sure, and I think he's pretty multiple in what he does on offense. So you can't really pigeonhole him into one thing. And he's learning his team, obviously. You read a lot of things. They don't mean a lot now. You've read that it looks like Deshaun Watson, it's his job to lose. That's easy to say in May. You have no idea how that's going to play out. But yeah, I mean, you talk about what they've done with the offensive line. Again, trying to be physical because they drafted Spencer Fano in the 1st round, top 10 pick. They signed Zion Johnson, Elton Jenkins, Titus Howard they now have. So they've got a totally revamped offensive line. And of course, they drafted Casey Concepcion, who I really liked his tape coming out of college. So, and Denzel Boston, they also drafted in the 2nd round. I would think in an ideal world, when they go with 3 wide receivers, they would love it to be Concepcion, Boston, and Jerry Jeudy. Now, with rookies, you never know how that plays out, but I think that's what they would like it to be. And they do have a little speed. I mean, Isaiah Bond is still there. He can run. Cedric Tillman, who you know well from University of Tennessee, I think he's talented. He's just been injured all the time. Again, he's one of those guys that could end up, really stepping up, or he could be cut. You never know with guys like that. But yeah, this will be a totally different looking offense than what we've seen in the past. And Harold Fannin had a phenomenal year at tight end. They also drafted a tight end, Joe Royer, that he's a 5th round pick. He was a big time recruit initially at Ohio State and ended up at the University of Cincinnati. So it's just going to be different.
Yes, and obviously one of those differences is going to be the defensive coordinator. Jim Schwartz opted to leave after they made a change at head coach, and Mike Rutenberg, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, comes over from Atlanta to become the formerly the defensive passing game coordinator there. He's going to be the DC in Atlanta. We obviously have some indications of the defenses that he's coached under Greg, but maybe not necessarily how he's going to mold this
Yeah.
with Myles Garrett and a couple of different pieces. I love that they got Emmanuel McNeil Warren in the second round when they did.
Yeah, it's interesting because he was with Atlanta last year with Jeff Ulbrich as the DC, and what Atlanta did was basically play a lot of man coverage and pressure a lot. So again, Rudenberg will decide if that kind of approach, philosophical approach. Obviously, you don't do that 80% of the snaps, but in Atlanta, that was sort of foundationally how they played pressure and man coverage. We'll see if he believes that his corners, Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell, are up to that challenge of playing a lot of man, because that's what you do when you pressure with the pressures they did anyway in Atlanta. And they signed Quincy Williams from the Jets, who's actually a very, very good blitzer. That's probably the best part of his game. We know what Carson Schwarzenegger did last year, a really good player, a linebacker. We don't really need to talk about Myles Garrett. Everybody knows about him. So it'll be an interesting defense. I think, it'll be different. That's the theme here with Cleveland. It's going to be different than Jim Schwartz's defense.
Yes, no doubt. Ravens have differences, some changes for the first time in quite some time, specifically with their coaching staff. Jesse Minter, a lot of the personnel is going to remain the same here, Greg, in Baltimore. But the obvious change is that Jesse Minter is now the head coach instead of John Harbaugh. He'll call the defense, formerly of the LA Chargers. And you've got Declan Doyle, the 29-year-old offensive coordinator, the same age as Lamar Jackson, coming in here to run things after spending some time with Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears. Many questions here. We understand their personnel pretty well at this point in time, but how Baltimore is going to look and play, we have some indications, of course, based on who they have, but that just feels like a straight up science experiment to me this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a work in progress. I mean, look, Declan Doyle's 29 years old. He's, he was with Ben Johnson. Coaches tend to coach what they know. Younger coaches obviously don't have the same breadth of experience and knowledge as coaches who've been around. Will he install a lot of the Ben Johnson type schematics? He probably knows that extremely well. So we don't know how that's going to play out. So we'll see, how that goes. Who knows? Maybe defensively they'll have to rely on that early in the season while the offense kind of figures it out. Obviously, they still have Derrick Henry, who I saw a photo of him the other day. I mean, did you see that picture of him? It looked like he added like a ton of muscle. I didn't know there was muscle to add on that guy's body, but it just looked like he did.
He's one of those when he does the rolling up of the sleeves even further on his jersey. It's just you're reminded. Yeah, pretty big guy, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, God, I mean he's a total freak. But defensively, Anthony Weaver is the defensive coordinator. He's very well respected around the league, but Jesse Minter is the head coach. One thing I really loved with Jesse Minter with the Chargers last year is I thought his pressure packages were really, really good. And so I imagine that you'll see, Jesse Minter's not going to step away totally. He's a defensive guy, and leave it totally up to Anthony Weaver. So I imagine you'll see some really detailed, cool pressure packages from this defense, and they'll be difficult to play against.
One of the more remade units in the league this year is Cincinnati's defense to round out this AFC North. Of course, we know that they traded for Dexter Lawrence and brought in guys like Jonathan Allen and Boye Mafe, who have been have had a presence in the league for several years. They are trying to continue to keep this window open with Joe Burrow. Not a lot of changes for them. They did add a number of different players for depth, basically, on offense this year, but for the most part, they're going to run it back around Joe Burrow. Greg, it's such an important thing. I know that this is an impossible conversation to have from a tactical standpoint, but it's just everything relies on Joe Burrow's health. I know that's just such an easy, general, broad thing to say, but that's what we're talking about with the Bengals the last couple of years.
But keep in mind too, and I mean, as you mentioned, they really did most of their offseason work on defense because last year they had that ridiculous stat, which I can't remember the exact detail, but something like 4 or 5 games where they scored over 30 points and lost. There was some stat like that. You remember that, right, Buck?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I can't remember the exact number, But so most of the work they did this offseason was on defense with the assumption that a healthy Burrow, they're still going to put up points. So, they did all this work. You mentioned Dexter Lawrence. I mean, Jonathan Allen. You mentioned Mafi. They also signed Brian Cook, the safety, because they were not very good at safety last year. So they signed Brian Cook. I don't know how they plan on using Kyle Duggar, who they also signed him. So they've got a lot of new pieces. They ended up playing the two rookie linebackers last year as the season progressed, Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter. I would assume they'll be their starting linebackers. So, the defense, second year with Al Golden being the D coordinator. So it's not as if it's a brand new system. So it really comes down to their defense. You'd have to assume that they're going to score some points. I mean, if Joe Burrow is on the field, you have to assume they're going to score some points. That doesn't mean they're putting up 35 every week. Nobody does that in the league, but you'd have to assume that offense is not going to be the issue. That, and a really good player, by the way, that doesn't get talked about because of Burrow and the receivers is Chase Brown's had, it's turned into a really solid multi-dimensional back for them.
Yeah. It's anyone's guess really in the AFC North this year, it feels like.
Yeah. It's good to be. I mean, it's funny. We talk about this, I know I'm probably nuts, but I'm not one who, studies the schedule as soon as it comes out. So I haven't looked in detail at the schedule just because, right now in mid to late May, that just to me doesn't seem like, it's a big deal because a lot of things are going to happen between now and certainly training camp. I'll take a peek at it here and there, but I don't study it the way a lot of people do. So I don't know what their schedule looks like, but at this point, it's even hard to know what teams are going to look like. I mean, you take your team, the Titans. People are talking about them now as if, man, they're going to be really good now. When I say really good, no one's saying they're going to be 14-3, but I think there's an assumption based on the new coaching staff, the development of Cam Ward, that this is going to be a really competitive team. Believe me, you and I hope so because we talk about them. It's to me, it's more fun to talk about good things than bad things. So I'm hoping as well that they're good. I don't have a horse in the race. I talk about every team in the league, but you don't know. You just don't know at this point in time. It's May.
Yeah, So that is a portion of the install with Greg Cosell of NFL Films. You can check out the full episodes on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel. We're going division by division. Obviously, we're keeping up to date with the news. And the news yesterday regarding the Titans was that they were practicing in a way that we could all watch. And that is something that we're going to talk about, basically spend the entirety of the noon hour talking about with Steve Lehman of News Channel 5. Both of us were out there. Both of us have a number of observations. I'm sure many of you were so excited to see your practice clips out there, your one-on-ones, not quite one-on-ones, but your individual drills, your quarterbacks going through various drills, footwork, throwing at the net and things like that. Aaron Whitecotton being an absolute menace out there with the rest of the defensive line. So we have a lot of different things to peel back from just simply one OTA. But like I said, we're learning a lot about a largely new team throughout the course of the next couple of months. And certainly that starts with the coaching staff. A lot of changes, though, in the AFC North. And given that the Titans will play all of these AFC North teams this season, I am curious to see what that division ends up looking like. A lot of people putting a lot of pressure on the Baltimore Ravens right out of the gate. They have a new head coach for the first time in 18 years. I get that they have an MVP at quarterback, and I understand that Derrick Henry, the timeless Derrick Henry, who, again, to Greg's point, I'm sure a lot of you saw that video that was making the rounds the other day of him just simply walking out onto the practice field, not running, not doing any drills, not helmet on a stick, stiff arm type of stuff, just simply walking and being the largest, most physically imposing human being you've seen without football pads on, probably in the league. To Greg's point, I didn't think that you could still find more ways for Derrick Henry to add muscle, but that's been a huge part of his durability so far, but a lot of pressure on the Baltimore Ravens to win right out of the gates with a first-year head coach. So we'll see how that goes. Titans will have a front row seat to see all of the different changes in the AFC North this year. We have things to give away for Friday Fire. If you call us 615-737-1045 and you give us your moment of positivity, your feel good. What happened to you personally? What happened in your sports life? What happened to you professionally that made you feel good this week? If you call us and give us that, we will give you what?
We have 2 tickets to see Thomas Rhett and Niall Horan at Giottis Park on July 9th.
Okay, very good. 615-737-1045. We'll do Friday Fire, and your phone calls coming up next. For the opportunity to win 2 tickets to see Thomas Rhett at Giottis Park, among others, 615-737-1045. The number, call in and give us your Friday Fire, the thing that made you feel good this week. Personal, professional, sports, whatever. We'll take any level of positivity around here to end our week on. One portion of Friday Fires that Steve Lehman's going to come in studio and hang out with us, talk a little bit about Titans OTAs, and we do have, frankly, a lot of positive things to say out of Titans OTAs yesterday. You take them for what they are. It's May hype, so you try not to get too sold in it, but it was a good showing for the people that you needed to see a good showing from yesterday when we got the opportunity to attend practice. Now, that's not my Friday Fire. My Friday Fire, and we'll get to your phone calls here in just a second. My Friday Fire is Ramon Foster. Makes me very happy. I was not in here yesterday when they got to make the official announcement. I know Robert and Lucas talked about it. I know, obviously, the morning show talked about it, but they made it official yesterday that Ramon is going to be the successor. I don't like saying the word replacement when it comes to Coach Mack because that, feels it's really tough to use that word, I think, lightly when you're talking about, friends and people that you care about and somebody who's passed on. So not replace, but succeeds Coach Dave McGinnis in the Titans radio booth, which was always the plan. When they brought Ramon on to do Titans radio sidelines a couple of years ago, a role at which I think he excelled at. I love that Cole Kubelik does it that way. I liked that Ramon got to do it that way, but he will jump on up in the Titans radio booth and be the color analyst for Titans radio. And it also makes me happy to see Ben Jones doing sidelines. B-Hop, Mark Mariani, Kevin Dyson. Look at Ben Jones, multimedia superstar. He does a few hits on this measly little radio show. All of a sudden, he's an NFL sideline reporter. So what they put out yesterday on the team website is that they, in the farewell season at Nissan Stadium, they are going to have a rotating cast of Titans alumni. Right now, the people that are confirmed are B-Hop, Mariani, Dyson, and Ben. So I don't know how many others will be included in that, but that'll be fun. And so you get your Titans alumni tie, of which people were very, very concerned about with Ramon. And you get Ramon Foster, who's got experience doing this, and I know will do a great job. So that made me happy to see. That's my Friday Fire. What do you got?
So, Buck, I think we are in the golden era of just slandering big-time athletes, especially the NBA.
Oh, God.
When they have poor performances. And for my Friday Fire, I'm going to refer to a tweet from Hater Report following game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the Thunder and Spurs. And basically, it's a picture of Chet Holmgren's body, but instead of his face, you have McLovin's face. And the caption is, Chet anytime he faces Wemby. And for me, it's very rare to just look at something like that and just laugh for a solid 5 straight minutes, but that's exactly what happened to me. I just think we're in the golden generation of internet slandering big-time athletes.
It's a very odd slant to put on the moment of positivity this week. Yes, we've never been more creative with our hate on the internet. All right, Carrot Top, vicious back there behind the glass. Interesting Friday Fire submission. It's probably true. I do see a lot of creative nonsense on Twitter from time to time. Titans Twitter has a few people who I think are doing that particularly well. There was one that made me laugh, and I should know the account. I see it on a fair amount. It's 2026 Tennessee Titans enthusiast is simply the name, at Travie Bird 00. And one of the things that I saw making the rounds on the Titans internet was the Alex Jones video where he's being interviewed about a number of different figures, and he's using some words that are no longer correct or safe to use regarding a number of people that he's shown pictures of. Some he describes as patriots, some he describes as eugenists. There was a meme that featured a number of different people of Titans Twitter who were being portrayed by this account. And I think Mina Kimes was the eugenist, and I was considered a traitor to Titans Twitter. That one made me laugh. So slandering not just of big-time athletes, but of media personalities, all kind of different people. Internet, creative place to slander people. Well done by Carrot Top. For the opportunity to win those Thomas Rhett tickets, 615-737-1045. What in sports? Or no, that's the wrong prompt. What made you happy this week? What's your Friday Fire? Let's go to John in Nashville.
Hey, Buck.
Hey.
So my Friday Fire is that you're getting a lot of football activities. You got OTAs. You're less than 100 days out from college football starting. You've got all these coaches in the media just being spicy in interviews, especially Steve Sarkisian talking about Ole Miss and yesterday throwing a shot at Texas Tech. And you got fantasy football drafts around the corner, and even rookie drafts that are starting now. So it's
Wait. Around the corner? It's May. You got fantasy football drafts around the corner?
I've had at least 5 Dynasty League rookie drafts that started within 4 days of the draft ending. Yeah, there's some real sickos.
Yeah, no, I know Robert and Stoney. I think Robert and Stoney enter a Dynasty League. I don't know enough about fantasy football. I can't ethically. Well, we can't put money on fantasy football. We have a Titans Media Fantasy Football League. I think I won it in 25, and then I finished won it in 24, and then finished not very well. I didn't make the playoffs last year, but so we do that without putting money on it. But yeah, Robert and I think Stoney are in one of these Dynasty Leagues, which is just for the clearly obsessed about football. But it is nice to have football back in our lives. Being out of practice yesterday made me feel like I have purpose again. If I'm not covering NFL things, then we get the draft and all that, but the draft's not real. Being out on the practice field, seeing coaches working with players, seeing the rookies in their new numbers, seeing returning vets and things like that. I agree. Always feels good to feel a little closer to football season. By the way, remember to stay on hold for the opportunity to win those tickets. Josh is in Clarksville.
Hey, Buck, how's it going, man? I got a two-parter. Happy Friday, first of all.
Yes, sir.
So I had a really awesome week to a new career this first week here, and then we also get to celebrate next week by going to Panama City Beach. So we get to spend the whole week down in Florida and hopefully some sunshine, minus this rain that's going to be going on here.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the new career path. I hope it goes well, and to celebrate with a beach trip is a great way. Vacation time coming up. I have a beach trip scheduled. I'm going to Europe first, but then I am going to the beach when I get back almost immediately. Lucas and Robert are basically going to have to host the show for the entire months of June and July because I'm out of here in the not-too-distant future, which I'm sure many of you are happy about. Chris is just in the state of Tennessee, somewhere in the state of Tennessee.
I'm actually in Eagleville, Tennessee, Buck.
Okay.
And just wanted to show a little hometown. Our high school baseball team is playing right now for their 4th straight state championship in a row, and the coach just got his 500th win.
Oh, that's awesome. What's the high school?
It's Eagleville High School, and the girls are actually, for the softballs, actually playing as well for the state champ.
Very cool. Well, congratulations to both and best of luck. Thank you for the call, Chris. Some good submissions today. How about Les? Let's go to Les.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
I got a great story, but it's a motorcycle story. I have 2 younger brothers, and unfortunately one of them passed away about a year ago. And the youngest brother was asking me about whether they could recover their old 70 Honda trail bike from the estate. And we were working on it, and we went through 5 storage units, some of which had been broken into, but 2 days ago we found the bike, and that was the shared dirt bike that my 2 younger brothers did when they grew up doing motorcycle stuff. And so yesterday he got the bike, and today is his birthday. I think he's 65 years old, and he showed me a picture of 50-some years ago when my 2 brothers and their dirt bike buddies were all pictured around that motorcycle. So that's my Friday fire. So
that's excellent. Well done. Man, that's putting some legwork in. What a kick-ass birthday present. I feel like we have to give the tickets to Les. My bad, Les. So, congratulations. Enjoy the Thomas Rhett concert. Remember to call us every Friday at about 11:45 for the opportunity to win such great prizes. And I appreciate all of you for sharing your moment of positivity with us. I had a less positive moment earlier today. I had a woodpecker fly into my house while I was making breakfast this morning. I had the windows and the doors open. I was enjoying the rain. All of a sudden, a woodpecker comes screaming through my kitchen and into my living room. And the cat was not, wildly overstimulated. Had to save the woodpecker from a very, very unpleasant death. But we got the woodpecker out of there. It was a just very chaotic start to the Friday, but always good to get moments of positivity. because I said at that point, the woodpecker survived. Everything's downhill from here. It's all going to be much less stressful. And hopefully everybody else is having a good Friday, too. Always like hearing Friday Fire. But, yeah, you ever had a bird fly into your house, your apartment, anything like that?
I haven't, but it's funny. My mom is a big animal person, and she actually just set up a bird feeder. And she's been telling me that it's been working great. Birds are coming in and out, not into the house, but they're getting fed nicely. But my dad hates it, so it sparked some arguments.
I am spending an exorbitant amount of money on bird feed here lately because apparently once you get into your 30s, you decide that you're into birds and bird feeders around the house. So that has been the first way too close interaction with one of the native residents. Anyway, speaking of something that you're going to want to be a part of, it's the 104.5 The Zone Golf Classic coming up on June the 15th, presented by Ferguson at Nashville Golf and Athletic Club. It's located in the heart of Cool Springs. This historic golf course features breathtaking panoramic views of the beautiful Middle Tennessee countryside. The 2026 Golf Classic highlighted with great food, cocktails, prizes, and special guests. Teams are selling fast. So purchase your team today by visiting 1045thezone.com and spend the day teeing off with us. Steve Lehman, News Channel 5, in studio next. It's final hour in studio, and I promised you that I would not leave you alone with me for the final hour of your Friday before your holiday weekend begins. So we brought in somebody infinitely more likable. We brought in Steve Lehman of News Channel 5. Let's make sure his microphone's up if we could, Zach. Thank you very much. Hey, buddy.
Buck, how we doing?
We're doing great. Much better now. We were just talking about the sports calendar getting longer and longer and longer and all the things that are happening right now in the city of Nashville specific to sports, because Super Bowl announcement feels like 100 years ago. It was Tuesday. It's just Tuesday. Yeah. You know, we've had a block party on Broadway since then. We've had 9,000 press conferences. We've had Titans OTAs, all manner of different things going on. I don't know how you in local TV do it, because you have to talk about all of this stuff. I really just have to do the football.
Yeah. It's really hard to fit it all in 3 minutes. The things that are left on the cutting room floor are numerous on a daily basis. And that's one of the things I sometimes tell my bosses is you don't understand. There is far more content to go around than you even realize. And this is a good example of that, because going into this week, Buck, I thought, okay, we're basically to summer vacation. We got a few OTAs. We got mini camp coming up for the Titans, and that'll be great. But we're roughly to the point where you can take the foot off the gas and enjoy life a little bit as a sports person in this town. And then Monday comes out that they're going to vote on this on Tuesday. Tuesday they vote. Wednesday's the announcement and the party and all of that. And you had 3 days, at least in my world, where it was like 12 to 14-hour days covering the Super Bowl coming to Nashville in 4 years.
And you talk about it in 3 minutes.
That's right. That's right.
But I couldn't even introduce you in 3 minutes.
Yeah, but I do it 6 times. So 3-minute segments 6 times throughout the day was basically what my Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday was like.
Well, I mean, you've been in the market for quite a while now. Like, it's still not because we've done the, oh my God, isn't it cool that we're getting the Super Bowl thing, several different times on the show, but it's something that, while it is 4 years away, it is going to take me every bit of 4 years to wrap my head around how they're going to do this. And the thing that stood out to me, because you and I were both at that press conference, which I was I was less impressed with the people who were very impressed with themselves at said press conference, announcing the Super Bowl and congratulating everybody involved in all these different things. But they kept talking about how they're going to reinvent the Super Bowl, Steve, and I'm fascinated to see how the hell they're going to reinvent something that is, I think, very successfully done in basically everywhere it's held, other than, you put it in San Francisco last year, even though the stadium's in Santa Clara and you've got a 2-hour shuttle ride involved in the coverage and the working of the Super Bowl. People don't care about that. They just care about being in San Francisco for the party. But, like, how the hell are they going to reinvent the Super Bowl? Yeah.
Well, that to me is why it's going to be so fun here in Nashville, is because if they do nothing crazy, if they quote unquote do it by the book, games in the stadium, the NFL Honors is in one of our numerous theaters, the NFL Experience is in the Music City Center, the Convention Center, and they just kind of go on and on down the list. They do nothing outrageous. It's still going to be a really good Super Bowl, because all of those places are fantastic facilities and they're all within walking distance of one another. And so for the vast majority of people who will stay in downtown hotels, which, by the way, I know we're still adding hotels to get to the perfect number to host, but the number of downtown hotels Nashville has beats a lot of cities. And so the amount of people who are going to be able to come into town, put their bag down on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, and never get in a car again to go to every experience throughout the week is going to be an enormous number. And so it's going to be a very convenient, well put together plan. But they've got 4 years to figure out how to do something different. And Buck, I think you know this as well as I do. When they initially put in the plan for the NFL draft in 2019, it was not a plan that said we're going to put 250,000 people on Broadway from the river to Bridgestone Arena with the stage up there. It was a much smaller plan than that looked more like the way drafts had been done as they moved to different cities the previous couple of years. In about 10 months' time, they developed a plan that changed the game for the NFL draft forevermore, and that's what they now have in 3 years to do. And so they don't have to do much, but I do fully imagine that they'll come up with a few wrinkles that make this uniquely Nashville. And just one thought there, Buck, is we could throw concerts literally every night of the week on Broadway for fans, which would be very different than any other city that's ever done this. And they'd probably get 50,000 people on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and 150,000 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, just by adding that event that doesn't normally exist that would easily go into the infrastructure that we already have.
I'm reminded of the interview. I can't remember which local TV station did the interview with those two bachelorettes.
Yeah, it was not mine.
Okay.
So I won't plug who did it. But,
Okay.
But yes, it was famous. It was definitely famous.
A competitor to the end.
That's right.
But just thinking about those two bachelorettes and being like, we didn't know about the NFL draft. It's hugely inconvenient. Then the Super Bowl week is going to be here. And what dumbfounded tourists are going to look around and be like, the hell is going on?
Shouldn't they have realized that being surrounded by like 300,000 football-loving men would make their weekend better, actually?
I imagine there were not many drinks paid for.
Exactly.
But yes, it does make the logistical navigating of the bar scene a little more difficult because every one of those dudes just standing around waiting with their sign gear and their jerseys and all these different things and taking up oxygen.
Get your pedal tavern through Broadway.
A little less attractive pedal tavern for sure. So we have that on the horizon, in the much further horizon. What we had directly in front of us yesterday for the first time in quite some time is Cam Ward throwing footballs to various players. A lot of new players out on the field. We didn't see everybody yesterday. I didn't take like full roll call, Steve, but just for people who may not have seen it yesterday, no Jermaine Johnson, no Mitch Trubisky, no Jeffrey Simmons. Saw Jeff's training, it looks like, in Dallas again this week. They have, again, voluntary, all of it. And I understand that there's an outsized level of, we need everybody here, new coaching staff, all these different things. But as far as practices go, that was a pretty smooth one that we saw yesterday, and no one more impressive as far as I could tell than Carnell Tate.
I 100% agree. For the people who hated on that pick of going up and getting him at number 4, a position of need, he came in yesterday and he looked like a number 1 wide receiver. He was the best player on the field at times for them. Now, it's one day, but I've been told, Buck, he had looked very impressive since walking into the building. Mm-hmm. And yesterday he was wildly impressive with a couple of touchdowns, including a deep ball from Cam Ward in there. And so I don't know if you change your expectations all of a sudden and say he's going to be an all-pro this year, or he's definitively going to be the number 1 wide receiver for this team. But I think you can believe that he can be a legitimate playmaker right out of the gate for this team, as he needs to be as the number 4 overall pick based off of what we saw.
Well, and that's, I saw 2 touchdown receptions that he had in team. There was one deep pass from Cam. It was a little underthrown, but it was a coverage bust. There was nobody in the area. Yep. Carnell Tate walked into the end zone. And then the second one that I saw, if he had another one, I missed it, was the 2-minute drill where they got into the low red zone and Cam Ward just hits him with a rifle in the back of the end zone. Tate goes up and extends, tiptoes, drags his feet in the back of the end zone, makes a touchdown catch. Like I said, it wasn't a perfect day by any stretch of the imagination, but it was, for the first time seeing him in person, Steve, it was tough for me to be more impressed with Carnell Tate than I was. And obviously we're looking for a number of different things. We're looking at a new coaching staff and how they run these things. We're looking at Cam and how he looks. It's the first time we've seen him throw since Jacksonville, I guess, when he was injured and in that game after the first drive. It's also the first time I've seen Levis throw in probably almost a calendar year.
By the way, I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah, he threw that interception.
Yeah, that was bad.
Ball behind.
But other than that, I thought he handled things pretty well.
The entire Will Levis experience. Thought he looked good yesterday. He threw a pick. Yeah, that was bad, but yeah, he looked sure. Yes, every time I see him, man, that's a quarterback, and then you're like, oh my God, what is that? It was just a little behind the receiver. Ball popped up, and defensive back Eric Hallett. Mm-hmm. So unfamiliar with the resume of Eric Hallett, but he was there to make a pick on Will Levis yesterday. Anthony Hill also got a pick off of Hendon Hooker. Do you think there's going to be an outsized level of dialogue around those two in particular, Hooker and Levis, for Titans fans, for sports fans in the state of Tennessee, shall we say?
Probably in August, there's going to be an outsized dialogue there because those guys, I would imagine, are going to get a lot of reps in those preseason games, and you're going to have to make a decision, in all likelihood, on how you're going to manage that. I mean, do they keep 3 quarterbacks?
They could.
They could. But given what they need elsewhere on the roster, is that the smartest thing to do? And if that's the case, are you definitively trading Levis? I think that's what a lot of people would like them to do. But what are you getting back in that situation? And does that mean Hooker's definitely on the practice squad? I think those conversations are going to happen because we're going to see those guys play a lot. And you're going to have to make some decisions between roster spot, trying to find a trade, what you do with your practice squad, and who's around after what looks like definitively Cam Ward and Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, and again, Trubisky not out there yesterday, so people were on Twitter trying to micro-analyze, okay, why is Hendon Hooker taking the reps right after Cam? Does that mean Hendon Hooker is the best backup quarterback on the roster? What does that mean for Levis? What does that mean for Trubisky? No. It's OTAs. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's out there. It's going to be okay. A lot of angst. A lot of excitement, though. I don't know. I did this last year. I was looking around and be like, well, it can't get worse, so hell with it. But I don't know. It looked, there was more energy at a practice than I've seen in I don't know how long. I mean, just for the individuals who were out there on the field running the practice. It's felt like a long time, Steve, since they've had legit juice. And as a roster, I mean, I think the 23 roster was still better because Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill were still here, even though they had some glaring deficiencies, specifically on the offensive line. But they look like a professional football team for a second, and I'm trying not to fool myself again.
I think the biggest thing to me is the competency from the people who are running the practices and the people who are talking to us. You know, obviously Robert Saleh, Brian Dable, Gus Bradley in their head coaching spots have not had successful runs. So we should all keep that in mind. But they have all been head coaches before. And Bones Fossil is considered one of the best special teams coaches in the league. And he was an interim head coach before in the league. So you have 4 guys running the most important parts of the team, including the overall head coach, who all have experience being in the head chair. And I just have to imagine, Buck, that helps this team out as they try to put in the systems this offseason, as they prepare to go in the regular season, as they navigate the inevitable adversity that comes along throughout the course of the season. It just feels like they have smart people who have great experience and are good teachers who've done this before running the show, which is a far cry from what we saw the last couple of years.
Steve Lehman of News Channel 5 in studio hanging out with us. We'll continue to talk about what we saw, what we learned at Titans OTAs coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. No better way to celebrate your Memorial Day weekend than with a bucket of Hattie B's wings. My favorite, whole wings, Hattie B's. No matter your heat level, you can also mobile order your Hattie B's if you're so inclined via the Hattie B's app. You can earn your reward points there. Steve Lehman is in studio. We're hanging out and talking a little bit about what we saw yesterday on the practice field at, it's going to take me a minute to get down, Vanderbilt Health Sports Park. Is that right?
I think it's the Vanderbilt Health Performance Center or just Vanderbilt Health Football Center, something like that.
I'm just going to call it the practice facility. I feel like it. It's not to piss off any naming rights partners or anything like that. And if they were paying me, I would definitely get the name right. But
Vanderbilt Health Football Center.
Vanderbilt Health Football Center. But it's not Vanderbilt's football center. It's the Titans Football Center. Either way, logistics.
No seed oils allowed at Vanderbilt Health Football Center, by the way.
Okay, did you do the research on the seed oil stuff after yesterday? Because I just got into a internet rabbit hole on all seed oil dialogue that I had no idea existed until... And I asked that question yesterday, Steve, because we did an interview with Solomon Thomas, and I'm just asking him, general things. Salah, what's he like? What does he do to help support players and these type of things? And the conversation was based off Solomon Thomas has a mental health and suicide prevention advocacy group that he works with, and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. But we're just talking a little bit on the front end about Titans and football related things. And he's like, yeah, first thing he does is he gets rid of all the seed oil in the building. Like, okay, I'll ask him about nutrition today because apparently that's something that he has an outsized level of interest in. And this
Salah looks like a guy who takes his nutrition seriously.
I would say if anybody knew what he was talking about, probably be the guy that looks like he's in pretty good shape for I'm not sure actually how old Salah is. But very, very health conscious. In fact, was at owners' meetings. I hope I'm not portraying a confidence here, but at owners' meetings was making fun of other coaches and their muffin tops in the annual coaches picture. But so Salah brings up the seed oil thing, and you're right. No more seed oils at Ascension St. Thomas. Apparently, there is some level of link to inflammation that athletes are more cognizant of. I had no awareness of any level of political dialogue around seed oil, but was very quickly made aware.
There's a lot.
Okay, yes. Yeah. I didn't know what your level of education on this was before it just basically took over our practice dialogue yesterday.
Yeah, well, my father has studied this stuff forever. Oh. He's one of the more researched and leading protein scientists in the world, actually. And it's been a huge talk with the new dietary guidelines this year and just the general, I guess it's MAHA in that movement and in everybody who's come in with the new administration with RFKJ. But I mean, the whole push of everything really in food these days is eat real food. You should focus on protein. You should eliminate processed stuff. And that goes big time into these seed oils you're talking about. And I think that's the goal of the Titans is you take some of that stuff out. You can cut out inflammation for the most part that is caused by food, at least, and it helps you recover better. It helps you build better, and that apparently is what they're trying to do over there.
So you have a health conscientious football coach, and if you listen, whatever, as long as you win more than, I don't know, Steve, if they win less than 6 games, I'm probably going to have some level of strong opinion about what happened. If there's not a giant injury of consequence, God forbid to Cam or to somebody on a near equal level of importance, Jeff, they had better win more than 6 games at minimum for me to feel good about the trajectory that they're under, because that coach has never won more than 7 games in his tenure as a head coach. And I want to be reasonable. I want to be fair, but 6 games feel I'm so tired of annually lowering the bar for them.
Right. I guess the question is, if they win 6, are you going to feel good about the direction? Because that would be double the amount of wins. that they've won each of the last 2 seasons individually. That feels like progress, but yet, you know as well as I do, 6-11 in this league is still a long ways away
Bottom feeder.
from competing to be a wild card, let alone winning your division.
I have such a low level of trust in their competency, even as I understand that all of these people who they've brought in have been competent in previous stops. You know, I'm not that far removed from having that press conference or us having that press conference with Brinker and Borgonzi after they fired Callahan, asking Chad Brinker why people should trust him to get it right this time, and him citing 9 Super Bowl rings that the front office have, and now he's fired.
Right.
So, like, I mean, you know, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I feel like the Titans as an organization are weighing me down in an outsized level of, okay, 6 wins, it's the bar. It's been too high a bar for you since 2023.
Well, and remember all these people who we're crediting in the last segment because they are adults and they've been in these roles before and they have a lot of experience and they're good teachers. Collectively, when they were head coaches, they were not successes.
Right.
So now they're all kind of getting second chances together to do this. I think it is an improvement from the last staff, but if they ultimately win big here, they're going to be doing something different than what they've done previously in their career. I think this is going to be a huge experiment of if you put people together with better circumstances, can the same person do better? Robert Saleh's big problem in New York was he never had a quarterback, right? His defenses were really good. He could never solve the quarterback thing. Is Cam Ward the answer? They seem to think so. If Cam Ward is the answer for the Titans, then Robert Saleh can have success here as the Titans head coach, because he will have the quarterback issue that he could never solve in New York, seemingly. And I think you can say the same thing for Brian Daboll. If Cam Ward is the answer, Brian Daboll is going to look like a superstar as an offensive coordinator here in Tennessee, and he will probably get another shot to be a head coach somewhere else after this. So I think it's all about if you put people in a new situation with better circumstances around them, can they make better in their second opportunity? And we're about to find out.
So one of those things, as you mentioned, the solution that Saleh has been seeking and the solution that Daboll believes that Cam Ward is the aforementioned Cam Ward. He's down 10 pounds, as he told us yesterday. His physique has always been a bit of a talking point. He's got a little baby fat to him, but that's normal for any player coming into the NFL and not yet up to speed on a strength and nutrition and conditioning program. So Cam seems to have made he wasn't citing specifically the seed oils yesterday, but this is Cam Ward talking about his weight loss.
You look slimmer. Are you in a different kind of shape than you were this time last year?
I am. Trying to get a little bit leaner, then just trying to stay, durable for a long season.
What are you doing different?
So what?
What are you doing different?
I just continue to watch my diet more, continue to have more cardio, continue to just work on my body, just here and then when I'm away from the building.
So he also brought up Steve durability. But when he was talking about durability, and I went back and read the transcript just to make sure I understood him correctly, he was talking about more of his escapability as a means of durability, and how he does have a tendency to not scramble necessarily, but to extend plays. He's running around a lot in the backfield. He's trying to run away from guys, not necessarily the most effective thing at the NFL level unless you're Lamar, and even then it's really, really hard. Didn't necessarily notice any difference in his movement yesterday, 10 pounds lighter, but there was not anything about watching Cam Ward yesterday that made me think, okay, he's still working through the shoulder thing. There's something there that's going to, I don't know what a weight loss situation could impact. I do know that they talk about Mahomes and that he has a little bit of a dad bod situation because it does help him absorb hits.
Yeah.
Cam Ward took more hits and more sacks than any quarterback in football. I'm curious to see what the balance for him is going to look like this year.
And ironically, he was about as durable as any quarterback the Titans have ever had until that final game of the regular season. And it was one of the rare times where he actually did scramble to run, actually scored on the play, and it ended his game and the rest of the season with the shoulder injury. But you're right. I've heard several quarterbacks going back multiple decades, Buck, talk about they actually like to keep a little bit extra meat on the bones, so to speak, because it's padding for when you get smashed by a 300-pound behemoth or you get tracked down from behind. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think the one thing I'm most interested to see with Cam Ward this year is it's just the maturity of being a second-year quarterback in the league. Whatever he would have said a year ago, I think there was part of him who thought, I'm going to walk into the league and do what I've always done. I've got this big arm. I've got a certain level of athleticism to myself, and I can just do it. And I think to a degree, we saw in the first half of last season, he tried to freelance a little bit too much. And we saw some spectacular plays as a result of it. I mean, the one play against I think it was the Chargers early on, the first touchdown pass going back to LA.
The Rams.
Oh, Rams game. Yeah, the wrong LA team. He made that play, and that will be shown on the Cam Ward highlight film for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
No matter how many games or even Super Bowls he wins. It was that spectacular. But he also had several plays that were kind of similar where he tried to extend it and it led to disaster. As the year went on last year, I think he calmed that down a little bit. And I think his attention to detail with his body this offseason hopefully is a sign that he's paying even more attention to those sort of things. And he's going to be a guy coming into this year saying, all right, I'm talented. I know what I can do, but I have to function like an NFL quarterback within Brian Daboll's offense.
Well, and that's really at the crux of it, right? Is he can do the spectacular, but I need him to do the more routine at a more consistent level. And, Bo Hardigree got a lot of crap. Some deserved, but for this particular quote, I didn't think that he was off base. I understood the message that he was trying to convey. Because it was later in the season, Steve, when we were out there for assistant coach availability, and Bo was asked about one of these spectacular plays that Cam had made here recently and said, I know he can be Superman. Sometimes I need him to be Clark Kent. And it got a lot of negative feedback from Titans fans, like, why do you want my quarterback to be anything but Superman all the time? What do you mean? But what he's saying is, no, the monotony of the routine, of the footwork, of the taking the checkdowns and just the living to fight another down and throwing the ball away. And yes, you can extend the play. And yes, you have that playmaking ability. And that's your Superman moment. But Clark Kent is going to get you, to the 20-yard line. And then you let Superman take over if you get in a situation where the play breaks down and you got to make something happen like he did with Alec against the Rams. I am waiting for more of a maturity in his game. As much as, because I don't think the person is immature.
Yeah.
And young guy, you go through learning experiences. I know Warren Moon, talk to him about the wee ass thing and just the way that you kind of carry yourself, whatever. But the maturity I look for in his game first and foremost, because the personality part of it, I think he's made of the right stuff to be able to handle all of this crap, as evidenced by last year, where they could not have found more ways for that quarterback to potentially get screwed up.
Yeah, for sure. He's got to make the layups. That's the biggest thing about this is he's proven, so to speak, that he can be a dynamic three-point shooter or hit the long ball. But he's got to do the basic that he didn't do enough last year, or at least consistently enough. The footwork's got to be better. The ball has to come out on time and in rhythm. And if it's there, take a 3-yard check down on 1st and 10 and get to 2nd and 6, as opposed to try to throw a 25-yard pass into coverage that ends up incomplete, and now it's 2nd and 10. Those are the little things that he didn't do enough last year that can help him. Because, Buck, I still have major questions about this offensive line, protecting him up front. Brother. He is going to be in difficult situations again this year because of the roster around him, particularly in front of him. But you know what can help that? Is being in 2nd and 4. And 3rd and 2, as opposed to being in 2nd and 11 and 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 12. He was in those situations, and frankly, the Titans as a whole have been in those situations too often in the last 3 or 4 years, and that's why they're losing. If he can be a part of the solution, and Brian Daboll's got to be part of this, the run game has to be a part of this, the other playmakers, and yes, that offensive line, they've got to find a way to play a little bit more ahead of the chains, and that will make everyone's job easier.
I want to hear from Cam Ward on Carnell Tate after yesterday's practice. Carnell Tate had a really nice day at practice that the media was able to see and take in and have some observations off of. This was the quarterback after practice yesterday.
What do you like about Carnell early on? What do you like about Carnell early on?
Has great hands. Wins in man coverage. He's a strider. He's a guy who can create verse off, verse press. Man, he really doesn't drop nothing. So just gotta continue to find ways to get him involved early, get him the ball, to continue working on our timing.
If you want to talk about the value proposition of Carnell Tate at 4, and plenty of people have, and the way I heard it described that I really liked, Steve, I was listening to the Athletics NFL show today, and I think it was Robert Mays said, Arvell Reese can be Micah Parsons. Carnell Tate can't be Justin Jefferson, is the way that he talked about the ceiling of the respective players that the Titans had the opportunity to pick there. But if Carnell Tate is Chris Godwin, or if Carnell Tate is one of these 1B type of receivers that the Titans also do not have in the absence of whatever Calvin Ridley is working through and recovering from and just getting up there in age and all these different things. Like, I'm so okay with just safe on this roster that doesn't have enough good and safe players. Like, the idea that Cam Ward could have a safe option that is also probably the most talented wide receiver on the field makes me feel a lot better about his opportunity to survive an offensive line deficiency, perhaps.
Yeah, I think you're right, by the way, that there's a higher upside with Arvell Reese, potentially being like a Hall of Famer at that position. But is there anything more safe in general right now in the NFL draft than taking a good Ohio State wide receiver? I mean, all of those guys come to the league, and you can pinpoint certain things, but like, people have hated Marvin Harrison. He's a pretty good wide receiver. Like,
I'd take him.
If Carnell Tate ends up being Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Titans, that would be a big-time upgrade for Tennessee and for Cam Ward in this offense. And so I think it was a pick that addressed a need. I think it's a guy who comes in and can make a big-time impact in your offense. And the things that I looked at, Buck, is, yeah, people will say that Jeremiah Smith was the best wide receiver on that team last year, and there were guys there before that. Two things that really stand out to me is his production on third down in college, his production in the red zone in college, and his catch radius and contested balls. He was nearly 70% at Ohio State on contested balls. So that tells me when they really needed a play, who did they trust? They trusted Carnell Tate to get open and, maybe more than anything, to make a contested play, to go compete and win. And that's something the Titans desperately needed, and I think he can provide that.
What else from practice yesterday that you haven't got to talk about or you feel is worth mentioning other than the quarterback and the wide receiver, which are pretty big deal?
Yeah, well, I'm still terrified about the offensive line, and I'm going to be that way maybe until the regular season, but certainly until we see pads on in training camp. I just feel like for all the things they did this offseason, I walk away unimpressed by what they did to try to help the offensive line. And so you're going to have major question marks. Maybe these guys can answer them through the competition within the room, but I'm going to have a major question mark there. And then the other guy you mentioned briefly with the pick six yesterday, I thought Anthony Hill has looked like a guy, and I've heard good things about him, but I thought he looked like a guy who was flying around yesterday. And you hope those top 3 picks in particular are day one impact guys. And I feel better after yesterday that Anthony Hill Jr. can be one of those guys.
Yeah, and the reporting from, maybe it was Albert Breer, forgive me for not attributing proper credit, but in the draft, that the Titans had tried to get up there to get Keelan Rutledge before they ultimately ended up trading for Keldrick Falk, and that's the guard from Georgia Tech that ends up going to Houston, who needs him as bad in front of C.J. Stroud. So there were how it played out. I guess, I don't want to give them any moral victories for being like, oh, well, you tried to get up there because it didn't work. That to me worries me. But I saw this from Ian Hartitz on Twitter earlier today. You want to take a guess at the only 2 running backs who have gained more than 1,000 rushing yards in each of the last 4 seasons are?
We're talking NFL, not draft picks
NFL.
Here. Last 4 seasons?
Last 4 seasons. Have at least 1,000 rushing yards.
So that's Derek, right?
Derek.
You'll
never get it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who hasn't been hurt in there, which is always the issue with the running back. I don't know.
Tony Pollard.
Wow.
That's what I said. His last 4 seasons.
Yeah.
He has gained at least 1,000 rushing yards. And it's just him and Derek that have done that in the last 4 seasons.
That is remarkable. And like 3 of the 4 are like 1,040, right?
Yeah.
They're. I mean, he's gotten there.
I mean,
let's not take anything away.
Because he's getting smoked behind the line of scrimmage at every turn.
But there's a difference between Derrick Henry threatening for 2,000 yards and what Tony Pollard's done the last couple of years. But that's remarkable consistency, Buck.
Even still, people were down on Tony Pollard this offseason, Steve, and I think that's just a product of the infatuation with the idea of Jeremiah Love, which didn't end up happening. And saying, I don't need Tony Pollard. I'm going to get Jeremiah Love in the Titans backfield. I'm like, Tony's pretty good.
Yeah.
He just is behind a situation that sucks.
Right. Well, and Derrick Henry wasn't very good here at the end when the offensive line wasn't very good either.
And even he was, making chicken salad out of,
For sure. By the way, I really like the Nick Singleton pick, too. I feel
a lot of people do.
I feel like the back end of this draft for the Titans has the potential, maybe not on day one, but has the potential to provide some real value there. I think Nick Singleton's a guy that without the injury and without the dysfunction at Penn State last year is a day 2 pick. He was an absolute star as a sophomore and junior for the Nittany Lions, and I think he has the potential to give you something kind of dynamic there eventually as a running back. And the offensive lineman that they got there, again, I'm not sure it'll matter on day 1 this year where we look at, but Pat Coogan's a winner. He's just a flat-out winner and a dude who can get up there. And I think he's a guy that might factor in at some point here.
I love him because he won a national championship for my alma mater. So I have the most bias for a Titans player I think I've ever had.
Are we sold that you're an Indiana football fan yet?
Yeah, I think I am. I'm listening to recruiting podcasts and stuff like that. It's weird. I actually care. And Lucas doesn't believe me, but I'm like, no, I'm paying attention for the first time in my entire life. So, if they start to suck again, then I'll drift away like any front runner would. Coogan is a competitor. And to your point, he has had a lot of success and played a lot of football, which I think is how they're trying to shorten the learning curve on, hey, we can't get these guys until the 5th and 6th round, but they've at least played a lot of football. So in a world where you're not getting a lot of quality offensive linemen out of the college world anyway, perhaps you can help put these guys in a position to succeed, even if they may not be the most athletically gifted, because I don't think anybody would say that of Carmona or Coogan.
Yeah. It's too early to say this definitively, but it's going to be interesting over the next few years because I think those guys are the type of guys that NIL has changed the draft. Because a few years ago, that 4th or 5th round pick is probably a guy who's coming out early, who is not very old, who has not played a ton of football, but you're looking at the upside in that situation. That guy's going back to college now because he's going to get $400,000 or $500,000 to play in college, which may exceed what he ultimately ends up getting in a no guarantee contract in the NFL, maybe more than that, depending on the position. So now the guys you're drafting later in the round are guys like Pat Coogan, who played for 4 and 5 years. They're older. They're more physically mature. They've been through more games and more meetings, probably know the position a little bit better or a little bit more fundamentally sound. Does that change the dynamic? Do more of those guys find roles because they're a little bit more of a sure thing as opposed to a guess on upside that maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago?
No, it's a completely fair point. News Channel 5, of course, is where you can find Steve Lehman. Anything else in particular that people need to be made aware of? I know you crushed it on the steeplechase coverage, as you guys always do.
I don't think so. Okay. I think we're just happy. We'll get it out after it on Sunday Sports Central this week, talking a little bit of OTAs and a little bit of Olympics and all that stuff. And I look forward to Indiana basketball again next year.
Yes. Also the voice of Belmont basketball, a much prouder program of late than Indiana basketball.
Excited about that, too, by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out Evan Brads.
Absolutely. Thanks for hanging out, Steve.
You bet, bud.
That's Steve Lehman. We'll wrap up the show. We'll update some polls. Last call for phone calls. If you got them, 615-737-1045. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Let's put a bow on it for the day. Appreciate you guys hanging out here with us. Lucas is out at the soccer team's practice facility. He's got a game to call over the weekend. He's on the call tomorrow. They play NYCFC. Want to make sure I get that correctly. Nashville SC sitting at the top of MLS after a huge Sunday night win against Los Angeles. So Lucas is off doing that, and you can hear him on the call tomorrow. Robert is already on vacation in North Carolina and enjoying the holiday weekend. We will be back on Tuesday is the next time that we will do a show. All three of us should be back as far as I know. Appreciate Zach helping out today and making sure that I have just somebody to keep me on the air for the final 6 minutes of my week before I disappear for the next couple of days. And take full advantage, though I'm not really going to disappear. I'm still doing the Fox Sports Show tomorrow from 5 to 7 on Saturday, and we are, I don't know who we're in for on Memorial Day, but Fitzy and I are on Fox from 3 to 7 Eastern, so 2 to 6 local. Whoever is in that Fox Sports Radio slot, I should probably know that, but that's who we're filling in for on Memorial Day, if you happen to be driving around from pool parties or cookouts or anything else. I don't know if we're going to get pool parties and cookouts with the weather that we have. Not ideal. I do want to play a little bit of Wan'Dale Robinson audio from yesterday's press conference. Among the players that we talked to, we had Cam Ward, Peter Skoronski, Amani Hooker, and Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale Robinson obviously coming in here on a big contract following his former head coach, Brian Dable, now the offensive coordinator here. Skinny asks me if I'm hitting Old Hickory Lake this weekend. I have done 2-foot many times in my life. I do not think that I will be by a boat or on a boat this weekend. Had a little bit of a scare last time I was on. Was it Percy Priest or Old Hickory? Anyway, the storm crept up on us very, very quickly. Never a worse. I think, especially as somebody who doesn't swim, not a very strong swimmer, I guess I should say. Not ideal to have waves on Percy Priest potentially threatening to flip over the little boat that we were on. It was a very trying time. So gonna probably avoid the lake while there is still weather in the area. But definitely find a pool, or at least at minimum a hot tub. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. Let's hear from Wan'Dale Robinson on his first couple of days practicing as a member of the Tennessee Titans.
A guy that drops the ball a lot, and neither is Tate. How much can that help Cam to know that you guys aren't going to put him in a bad spot with a ill-timed drop?
I feel like that's our job as receivers to go out there and catch the ball no matter where he puts it. At the end of the day, we got to go out there and make the play. Even if it's a bad throw, we got to bail him out. Sometimes we might not be all the way wide open, and he's going to make a perfect throw to help us out. So it works hand in hand, and we just got to go out there and get open for him.
For you, has it been pretty seamless with Dable coming in here, understanding system familiarity?
Yeah, I say pretty much everything has been about the same. There's been some language things that have changed, but pretty much I know the entire offense. There's been some things that Cam has wanted to add that I've had to learn a little bit, but other than that, yeah, it's been pretty seamless.
What have been your impressions of Tate so far in his first week or two here?
He comes into work. He's like a pro. He does everything that you want him to do, and he's just willing to be coachable and soak up all the knowledge that he's getting. I'm just really glad that he's here with us.
What's it like for you from a mindset standpoint, coming to a new team, wanting to establish yourself, kind of show them what you're about out here?
I would say it's just more so going out there and doing it, not really saying too much, and just trying to play my part and play my role and do what I'm supposed to do, and let everything else take care of itself from there.
Where you play the slot position, the middle of the field, like timing and trust, those are so critical. How have you felt that you and Cam have been able to get started to make sure that you guys are on that same page?
It's been great. Pretty much just about every day we're watching whatever went on in practice, whatever reads we may have. Being in the slot, I have a lot of different options to go a lot of different places, and just making sure we're on the same page with all of that is a pretty big deal, and I feel like we're coming along at it pretty well too.
Has there been a time, I know it's early, but has been a time where maybe like you went in, he thought you were going out or anything like that, and if so, how did he address that with you?
Maybe early on, but pretty much just about after all those like type of option routes, I'll go back to him like, hey, do you like what I did there? Is there anything you wanted me to do right here? So just getting all the feedback from him him whatever he needs me to do to go out there and get open and be a valuable target for him.
I don't know if you were watching the draft or anything, but what goes through your mind when you see the pick is another wide receiver? Is it competitive? Is it joy? Just kind of how do you process that?
I mean, I've been through it before. I mean, in New York, we had drafted Malik, so I know what that was all about. And at the end of the day, that's what the NFL is, it's competition. So the more competition you bring in, the better your football team's going to be. So at the end of the day, I was happy and just going to bring the best out of all of us.
What's it been like bringing that veteran experience for Tate and some of the other guys?
It's been great. It's a little bit weird sometimes thinking that I'm a veteran and sometimes feel like I'm pretty young. But in our room, it feels like I'm one of the older guys. So I'm just trying to do everything that I can just to help them learn the offense, learn anything it does out there on the field. Whatever it is that I can do to help, I try to do that.
He obviously was very productive today in the end zone 3 times. Did he start the week like that? What's he done the other 2 days?
Yeah, he's had a pretty good week. I wouldn't say he didn't have all 3 like that today, but today he had a really good day and was just making some incredible catches.
What's kind of stood out to you about Cam just from your interaction with him here over the first couple of months of the team?
I would say one on the football field is the arm talent. You know, the ball jumps out of his hand and, whenever we're off the field, he's just like one of the other guys. And you want to play for a quarterback like that you can always hang out with outside of football and be cool with. And then whenever it's on the football field, it's all business. So love him to death.
In the 4 years or whatever it's been since you last practiced with Will, how have you seen him change? How have you seen him kind of evolve?
You can tell he's just turned into a pro-level quarterback. It was his first year starting whenever we got together, so you just see the 4 years of experience, what that'll do for you in the NFL. And, he's been great, though.
That is Wan'Dale Robinson speaking with the media yesterday. So, just trying to make the process a lot more seamless for Cam Ward, and they've done that in a number of different ways with how they've tried to address the offensive weapons. But like Steve Lehman just said, the offensive line situation, something we're not going to have a resolution for at any time in the near future, but still trying to learn as much as we can about what this Titans football team, not just the offense, but the team in general, is going to look like in 2026. That's going to do it for us this week. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. We look forward to having you get back here with us on Tuesday when Robert, Lucas, and me will all be back in studio getting you ready for another week of OTAs. Got Blaine and Zach next.